Welcome back, everyone. This is your host, the DN WhatIf, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into part 1 of What If Deku Had the Healing Kiss Quirk? A special shout out to the original creator, Miss Tang17. Please make sure to show your support by checking out their work from the description. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Kachin, wait for me. 6-year-old Izuku Midoriya raced after his friend, trying to keep up while juggling a net and plastic container. Up ahead, Katsuki Bakugo turned back, smirking at the green-haired boy. Better catch up or you'll get stuck out here by yourself. The two were walking through the wooded parts of the park closest to their houses, enjoying an evening of catching bugs. Katsuki faltered slightly at his friend's expression, the boy's big green eyes welling up with tears. The blonde begrudgingly slowed down. Thanks, Kachin, Izuku said brightly, speeding up until the two were side by side. Yeah, just don't get used to it. If we're gonna be the greatest heroes ever, you're gonna have to learn to move faster. Izuku nodded. I know, hopefully when I get my quirk, it'll make me super fast. Katsuki scoffed. Not faster than me, he muttered. The blonde boy had already gotten his quirk, a combination of both his mother and father's quirks which allowed him to create small explosions from his hands. Like the rest of his class, Izuku thought it was the coolest thing ever. Well, whatever my quirk is, I hope it's just as cool as yours, Kachin. His friend smirked. Not likely, but it'll probably be better than all the other losers we know. The two continued along with their bug catching, finding mostly grasshoppers and ladybugs. Katsuki saw a cool-looking spider and swung his net wildly trying to catch it. Come here, stupid spider. Kachin, be careful. But as Katsuki slammed his net down on the spider, trapping the insect, the rocks he was standing on shifted, and he lost his balance. The blonde fell forward, landing on his knee. Fuck! Izuku raced over to his friend, the sensitive boy's eyes watering up once more. Kachin, are you okay? I'm fine, nerd, I just scraped my knee is all. Izuku crouched down to look at it, seeing a little bit of blood pooling at the surface of the broken skin. He pulled a band-aid out of his pocket, one of many he carried around at his overprotective mother's urging, and pulled off the paper, revealing the adhesive strips. The bright red band-aid was then placed on his friend's knee, who still looked a little uncomfortable. And now, to make it all better, Izuku announced grandly, before kissing the knee. Katsuki spluttered. That's gross, Aizu. Don't do that. But our moms do that to make boo-boos feel better. Yeah, but my knee is covered in dirt, and now so is your stupid face. Do you feel better? Katsuki glared at his friend for a second more, before sighing. I guess. Izuku brightened. Good. Now let's go, Mama's making katsudon for dinner. Neither boy noticed that Katsuki's knee wasn't scraped anymore, nor did the blonde notice the lack of blood on the band-aid when he threw it away a day later. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Yeah, that's right. Run away, you extras. Katsuki yelled, throwing sparks at the bully's retreating figures. Behind him, Izuku sniffled. He had been playing by himself in the sandbox, waiting for Kachin to join him. A few older kids had noticed he was by himself and started picking on him for not having his quirk yet. Izuku's mom had tried to convince him that it was okay, that some kids didn't get their quirk until they were as old as 9. But it didn't matter to the green-haired boy. Until he got his quirk, he wouldn't get to be a hero with his best friend. Damn it, nerd, quit crying. That's why they like to pick on you. Izuku sniffled again, wiping away the tears. Can't help it, he mumbled. Yeah, your mom's a crybaby too. Is not. Is too. Izuku stuck his tongue out before getting sad. Kachin, what if I never get a quirk? Or what if it's not helpful? Katsuki snorted. You would get stuck with a useless quirk, Deku. It's in your name. I want to be a hero, but if I don't have a strong quirk like yours, then... The blonde's eyes flashed. Don't say stupid crap like that unless you want it to come true. You'll get your quirk, and it'll be super awesome and better than everyone else's except mine. Until then, I'll just have to cover your pathetic ass. Thanks, Kachin. You're my white knight. Doesn't that make you a princess, Deku? Katsuki smirked. Nua. Princesses wear pink. Then you better get some pink, Princess Deku. Quit teasing. The next day, Izuku came to school in a pink shirt. Katsuki laughed at him until his sides hurt. Both Izuku and Katsuki were devastated when their parents told them that the Midoriyas would be moving. The two families were at the Bakugo residence, having dinner. The dinners used to be a bi-monthly arrangement for Inko and Mitsuki to spend time together, the two women having been friends since before they were married. Once Izuku and Katsuki got older and closer, the dinners became a weekly affair. I'm sorry boys, but it's for the best, Inko told them, doing her best to comfort the children. Izuku's dad is moving back to Japan for work, but his new job is in Hosu. Privately, Inko was thrilled to be moving, not because she hated Mizudafu or wanted the boys to be hurt, but because years of her husband working overseas put a strain on their marriage as well as Hisashi's relationship with his son. Most days, Izuku could only just remember what his father looked like, which pained the woman greatly. I won't go, Izuku told her in uncharacteristic defiance. Inko suspected her son's hot-tempered friend was the influence behind it. I'll stay right here with Kachin. Yeah. He already sleeps here a lot, and he won't have to change schools. It's not that simple, boys. Inko tried to reason with them, which only made them angrier. The hell it isn't. Hey, watch your mouth, brat. Mitsuki snapped at her son, her glare matching the boy in front of her. You two can still call each other and write letters, and we can visit for holidays too. It won't be the same, and you guys know it, Izuku mumbled, his eyes getting watery. Inko sighed. I know, sweetie. I know. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Katsuki snarled as yet another person came up to him to ask about where Deku was, despite their teacher telling the whole class that he moved. He vaguely recognized some of the kids as extras who would talk to Izuku when the blonde was in a relatively good mood, but the rest were just being nosy and didn't actually care about the green-haired boy. Moving day had been hard for both boys, who clung to each other as their parents loaded up the Midoriya's car. Izuku's dad was going to meet his wife and son in Hosu, which Katsuki took to mean the bastard was too lazy to help with moving. I'm gonna miss you so much, Kachin, Izuku cried, and even Katsuki couldn't help but shed a tear. Eventually, Katsuki started hanging out with the bully kids, keeping them in line with his explosive quirk. One day, as the group crossed a fallen tree that bridged a shallow stream, Katsuki stumbled and fell into the water below. He was fine, the drop only being a couple feet and the stream just barely moving. His new friends cheered as he stood back up, showing off his scrapes and how tough he was for not crying. Despite this, he couldn't help but think how Deku would have rushed to him, eyes watery and concerned, and would have fished a band-aid out of his pocket and tried to kiss the boo-boos better. At his new school in Hosu, Izuku tried making new friends, but there weren't a whole lot of people interested. His teacher made him tell the class his name and his quirk when he first arrived, and, since he didn't know what his quirk was, most of the class thought he was weird. It wasn't until lunch, when a loud, hyperactive girl with pink hair and yellow eyes sat next to him that he found his first new friend. Hi there. I'm Mei Hatsume. The girl introduced herself, her smile wide enough to show off her missing baby teeth. You're Izuku, right? You moved here from Mizudafu? Why yeah, that's right, he replied nervously. It's nice to meet you, Mei. I can tell we're gonna be great friends. I'll even show you some of my babies. Babies? The girl's smile turned sharp. I make all kinds of stuff in the metal shop room. The teacher keeps an eye on me because he doesn't trust me with the saws or the drills, but still. As she grabbed him by the hand and dragged him to the metal shop classroom, lunches abandoned, Izuku looked at her. She was loud, brash and passionate, but she was no Kachin. Still, she was a friend, and Izuku was grateful. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Keeping in touch proved difficult for the now 7-year-olds, as time and distance slowly pushed them apart. Neither had forgotten about each other, but juggling school, friends and activities made it difficult to schedule a phone call or remember to reply to a letter. Eventually, communication just stopped. Izuku was happy to get to spend time with his papa, the man now taking his family to movies, museums, amusement parks and more on most weekends. Now a united two-income family, the Midoriyas could afford nicer vacations, expensive school supplies for their son and higher-end gifts for one another. The playdates Izuku used to have so frequently with Katsuki now happened with Hatsume, the pink-haired girl getting him into just as much trouble as Kachan did. One day, as the two were playing at a nearby park, Hatsume fell out of a tree she was climbing, landing on the ground with a thud. "I'm okay," she told her friend, who was beginning to cry as he saw all of her scrapes and cuts. "Honest, I am." She was being brave for him, but Izuku could still tell she was in pain. "At least let me kiss it better." Kachan didn't often let him do it, saying he was too tough to need his aois kissed, but Hatsume graciously accepted, tapping a clean spot on her cheek. As soon as his lips connected with her cheek, Hatsume felt 10 times better, her wounds disappearing before the children's eyes. "Holy cow," she breathed, eyes wide. "Aizu, your Quirk. You fixed my boo-boos." And so, Izuku Midoriya found his Quirk. His doctor had wanted to put healing on his chart, but the Quirk specialist the clinic called in dismissed the idea. "It's possible healing is just one aspect of his Quirk," the specialist argued. "For now, we should leave the identification broad, in case it changes as he gets older." What the woman really meant was, she didn't want the boy's information to get him poached for having a useful Quirk, by either villains or heroes. With that, Izuku Midoriya's Quirk was identified as Kisses. He was thrilled. "So, you really want to join UA's hero course?" Izuku and Mei were sitting under a tree during lunch, the two junior high students absently eating while working. Izuku had his superhero analysis notebook in his lap. Mei had a new invention in hers. Izuku turned to her. "Of course I do. It's where All Might became a hero and I want to be just like him. I have since I was a kid." It was true. Izuku had been dreaming of being a hero ever since he first saw All Might on TV, the hero saving 12 people from a burning building, all at once. It was the coolest thing the boy had ever seen, and he wanted to be just like that. "I know, but can you even be a hero without some kind of super strong Quirk? I mean, yours is awesome and everything, but you're more of a healer." The girl's eyes cut to him. "And you have to get so close to people to use it, how's it gonna help against a blaster villain?" "I've been taking classes. I practice judo every Friday, gymnastics every Saturday, and run track every Sunday." "Yeah, but you're just good at those things, not great," she blew out a sigh. "I still think you should apply for the support courses with me." Izuku firmly shook his head. "I'm not as smart as you are. I mean, I'm smart, but I can't invent stuff. Anyway, I don't want to be a supporter, I want to be a hero." Asterisk 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 asterisk. The practical portion of the UA entrance exam was tough. No, it was brutal. Izuku fought to catch his breath as the chaos unfolded around him. One close call of being crushed told him that the robots were immune to his Quirk, so he found a broken pipe and was smacking one with it. It took him 12 swings to knock it down, and far too much time. He heard a cry behind him, and turned to see a tall boy with purple hair get knocked down. He rushed over. "Are you okay?" he asked as he scanned the boy for injuries. He sensed nothing more than some cuts and burgeoning bruises, so he pecked him quickly on the cheek, much to the other boy's alarm, and took off after the robot. Next, he spotted a girl with pink hair that reminded him a little too much of Hatsume laying on the ground, her leg twisted unnaturally. He did the same for her as he did the purple boy, the girl's leg snapping back into place. She fainted. "Huh, that's new," he thought to himself. He heard the buzzer sound, signaling the end of the test. He had only managed to take down one 2-point robot. "Don't worry, young man," a voice spoke next to him, startling him. "There's still hope." Izuku looked down to see none other than Recovery Girl, the healing hero. "I came out to help with the injured, but it looks like you beat me to it." "Yes, ma'am," he responded politely, bowing. "My Quirk lets me heal people with a kiss." "I see. And how does that work, exactly?" "I don't know much. The specialist I met as a kid seems to think something about my kisses can regenerate tissue." He turned to the still unconscious girl. "I've never had someone faint before, Most people feel fine, or a little loopy at worst when I use my quirk. Fascinating. The woman had a thoughtful look on her face before giving him a sweet smile. Never mind that now, dear. Go take a rest, and try not to get discouraged. You may not have gotten the highest score, but you're a hero if I've ever seen one. The following week was torture for Izuku, the waiting for his results driving both himself and his family nuts. Izuku, honey, please just sit down, his mother said wearily. Pacing in front of the door won't make the mail come any faster. Logically he knew that, but he needed the movement to keep his mind from going into overdrive. When the mail did finally arrive, his letter from UA with it, he tore the envelope in half, a small projector falling out of it. Hello, young Midoriya. A heroic voice boomed out as a projection of All Might appeared. I must commend you on your determination and bravery as you competed in this year's entrance exams. As I'm sure you know, only up to 40 people are selected to join the UA Hero course, and we are very discerning. As the recorded message played, Izuku's eyes got bigger and bigger. Surely all of the praise meant, unfortunately, with your combined hero and rescue points, plus your written exam, you were 1 point away from the requirement. We look forward to having you in general studies. As always, go plus ultra. The message ended, and Izuku's heart sank. 1 point. He was 1 point away. He started to cry. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Moving into the school's dorms was a bittersweet moment for Izuku. On the one hand, he was excited to be at All Might's alma mater, the school he'd been dreaming of for 2 whole years. On the other, he was heartbroken to not be moving into the 1A or 1B dorms with the hero course kids. He looked wistfully as he and his parents passed the 1A dorms, and wondered if either of the people he helped got in. The 1C dorms were spacious and everyone polite, which only further dampened Izuku's mood. He couldn't even enjoy the kindness of the people around him, and, with Hatsume in the 1D support dorms, he was completely alone. He found his room easily enough, and said goodbye to his parents after the boxes were put away. Once back downstairs, he bumped into a familiar face. Oh hey, I know you. You were in the same test group as me, Izuku recognized, taking in the tall boy's dark circles and messy hair. Oh yeah, weren't you the kid who kissed me? The boy asked, eyeing him critically. Izuku flushed. Sorry about that. My quirk only activates if my lips come into contact with another person's skin. He said sheepishly, rubbing the back of his neck. I see. Anyways, I'm Izuku Midoriya. Pleasure to meet you. Hitoshi Shinso. I'm not interested in making friends. Shinso then departed, leaving a confused Izuku standing in the hall. General Studies bored Izuku to tears. His teacher present Mike tried to keep his lessons interesting, as did Cementos, but it was in vain. Most of the other students whispered to each other, trading texts and giggles behind their teachers' backs. Shinso kept his head down and ignored his classmates, and Izuku paid as much attention as he could each class, before giving up and working on his hero analyses. It wasn't until the end of his first month at UA that things got interesting. Hatsume had hurt herself in the support lab, her teacher power loader chastising her for being so reckless. Izuku knew from past experience that trying to get his pink-haired friend to see reason was a losing battle. Next time at least injure yourself during math, he teased, kissing his friend on the cheek. At once, her burns, cuts and sprained ankle disappeared, leaving the girl disoriented. Felt different thighs time, she slurred, swaying back and forth. Oh no, Izuku mumbled, remembering the girl from the entrance exams. We better get you to the infirmary. He pulled the girl to his side, slinging her arm over his shoulder as he guided her to the infirmary. There, the two were met by Recovery Girl, a polite smile on her face. Oh ho! I was wondering when I'd see you again, dear. The elderly woman watched as the boy helped his friend onto one of the infirmary cots. I'm guessing this is your quirk's doing? Izuku nodded, feeling guilty. Hatsume's gotten the most kisses from me out of anyone because she's so accident-prone, but she's never been affected like this before. At the nurse's prompting, Izuku explained everything he could, not just about the instance with Hatsume, but every time he could remember using his quirk. When he was done, The nurse regarded him thoughtfully. I think I know what's happening, she finally said. You do. Yes. You see, my power is similar to yours in that I can heal with a hug, but I simply accelerate what the body does naturally, which can leave my patients feeling drained, and if the injury is too severe, the toll my healing would take on their bodies could kill them. Izuku gulped, his vision blurring slightly as his breaths became shallow. You mean, I might have killed Hatsume? Recovery Girl didn't laugh, but it was a near thing. No, dear boy, I don't think your quirk works that way. When I heal someone, there's almost always a scar or mark left behind. It's just how the body works. In all 3 cases I've seen of your power, there is no mark. In fact, there's no trace of damage on your friend at all. I don't think you're speeding up their healing, I think you're undoing the damage. Undoing the damage, Izuku frowned. He tried his best to understand his quirk growing up, but the parameters needed to study it weren't easy to come by. Having a lineup of injured people would be difficult in any setting other than a hospital or relief shelter, neither of which would want a kid with no control of his quirk there. If what Recovery Girl was theorizing was correct, then that would mean his quirk was more efficient than hers, and less dangerous for the patient. Regenerating damaged tissue, returning it to its original state, that would certainly be something, the nurse hummed. As for the fainting and the sluggishness, I have an idea about that too. Izuku gave her his full attention, motioning for her to continue. Well, part of caring for someone who's injured or sick is about easing their discomfort. If you worry for your patient as you use your quirk on them, you might be accidentally sedating them while healing their injuries. That makes sense, sort of. Recovery Girl did chuckle then. There's no reason to look so serious, this is a wonderful gift. And I know just how we're going to use it, provided Principal Nizu doesn't mind. With that, the little nurse shooed the 2 students out, sending them back to class. Hatsume looked to be coming out of her stupor, so the 2 parted ways and met with their respective teachers to explain their absence. 2 days later, Izuku was called to the infirmary, where Recovery Girl and a small creature awaited him. The creature had white fur and a pleasant smile, and was dressed in a 3-piece suit without the jacket and yellow sneakers. Hello, Izuku Midoriya. Am I a bear, a mouse, or a dog? It doesn't matter, because above all I am Nizu, your principal. The little creature spoke. Oh, pleasure to meet you, sir. The boy wasn't sure what to make of the charismatic animal, but he remembered his manners and bowed just the same. Recovery Girl has told me all about you. I'm thrilled to see we have such promising young students here at UA. Principal Nizu's voice was calm and even, but his tone gave Izuku the impression that this being was not to be trifled with. It's such a shame to see a gift like yours so underdeveloped. Then again, one could hardly blame you for not wanting to kiss every injured person you see. The freckled boy shook his head. It's not that at all, sir. It's just that most of the people I know don't get hurt much, and when they do it's usually not more than a cut or a bruise. Hatsume's always hurting herself in the support lab, but it's never been too serious until the other day. So you mean to say you need more practice with your quirk to understand it? Well, I suppose that only makes sense. I guess we know what to do, don't we, Recovery Girl? Nizu turned to the nurse, who smiled indulgently. We do indeed. Midoriya, how would you like to work here in the infirmary with me? Izuku blinked, not sure if he heard correctly. You want me to work here? As a nurse? She giggled. Not exactly. I want you to be my nurse aide and learn more about your quirk. Together, we can test your limits while helping students in need. There's always an endless stream of hero students coming in with injuries, so you won't be short on patients very often. I've already given you clearance to use your quirk to assist Recovery Girl here in the infirmary, but you still won't be able to use it off campus, I'm afraid. And who knows, if all goes well you may be able to do a work-study here as well. So, what say you, dear? Izuku felt his eyes begin to tear up, his hands trembling at his sides. Of course I'll do it. Helping people is my biggest goal in life. Nizu gave another peaceful smile. Splendid. You'll start today, we'll have you work mostly in the afternoons, so I'm afraid you'll have to drop one of your electives, and you may work during lunch as well if you wish. Got it? Don't worry, sir, ma'am, I won't let you down. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Working in the infirmary was a surreal experience for Izuku. It almost made him feel like a real nurse. He was given a lab coat, which was a bit too large on him, as well as a stethoscope, though when he told Recovery Girl his senses would tell him what he needed to know, she just laughed. "You'll want to look the part, dear. It will help make the other students feel at ease." Recovery Girl wasn't lying when she mentioned just how accident-prone the hero students were. At least 4 times during his shifts he would have to care for an upperclassman who'd managed to burn, sever, crush, or break something. No one seemed to mind his kisses, and in fact many of his patients looked far happier leaving than they did arriving. It made the boy's heart swell to see how much they trusted him. One particular repeat patient was third-year Mirio Togata of UA's Big 3. The smiling blonde was littered with scars from previous injuries as well as fresh cuts and bruises each day. "I guess I push myself a little too hard sometimes," Mirio confided in him one day, accepting his kiss on the cheek with a smile. "Well, at least try to be more careful," Izuku weakly admonished him, feeling strange about scolding someone older than him. A hero's job is to save people, but they can't do that if they're hurt. "That's so true, Midoriya. Man, you're great at this stuff." Mirio was becoming one of Izuku's favorite patients, and his continued approbation of the freckled boy's abilities and advice was making Izuku just a little bit bossy. But what was at first a light-hearted nurse's aide job quickly became a very serious, sobering reality of hero work the day Eraserhead was rushed in, beaten, bloody, and dying. It had been a normal day for Izuku at first, going to his morning classes, eating lunch with Hatsume in the infirmary, and tending to the bumps and bruises of the hero students, until the school's alarm sounded. The entire school was placed on lockdown as teachers rushed to the USJ off campus, Recovery Girl out like a shot as soon as she was called. Izuku waited nervously for her to return, the nurse bringing the principal, All Might, and a very damaged body with her. Izuku began to feel nauseous as he sensed the many injuries the man had sustained. Fractures in the zygomatic bone, broken ribs, internal bleeding, damage to the right elbow, retinal damage, tearing of the optic nerve, trauma to the frontal lobe, pierced left lung. Izuku began muttering to himself, feeling faint. He watched with horror as Recovery Girl did what she could, cleaning and bandaging the unconscious man, his breaths shallow. When another body was brought in, wearing a clunky spacesuit, Izuku moved out of the way so the heroes had room to work. "Put 13 over there," Recovery Girl ordered, All Might obeying her swiftly. What happened?" Izuku asked meekly. "There was a break-in at the USJ," All Might informed him. "The League of Villains held Class 1A hostage, and crippled the teachers there. They were looking for me." The man began to tremble, and Izuku was suddenly aware that the hero before him was still just a man who looked beside himself. "Damn it! If I had just been there, or gotten there faster." "It's not your fault," Izuku tried, tentatively reaching a hand out. "You couldn't have known this would happen." The hero didn't meet his eyes, but he wasn't shaking as much, which Izuku counted as a small victory. "I'm sorry," Recovery Girl spoke, all eyes turning to her. "But there's not much I can do. Eraserhead is dying." "Eraserhead? Mr. Aizawa?" Izuku had seen the man here and there on campus, usually on his way to the faculty room or training his classes out on the field. He clenched his fists, his eyes beginning to water. No, he can't die." "There's nothing we can do," Nizu said softly, his eyes glittering. "His body is giving out." Izuku shook his head. "They may not be able to help, but he could." He raced to the hero's bedside, ripping off the bandages. "What the hell are you doing, kid?" Izuku paid the number 1 hero no mind, instead leaning forward and kissing Aizawa's cheek with as much force as he could muster. For Izuku, it looked as though the teacher's body was reorienting itself, skin knitting back together, bones snapping back into place. Aizawa's breathing evened out, his heartbeat steadied. The man was alive and he was going to be okay. Izuku let out a breath he didn't know he was holding, turning to see the group of educators staring at him with shock and awe. "It's a miracle," the hero known as Midnight said softly, the others nodding in agreement. "No," Nizu said, smiling once more. "Not a miracle, a hero." Asterisk 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 asterisk. When all was said and done, Aizawa was left with only a small scar under his right eye. 13 had sustained very little injury in the attack, their suit taking the brunt of the damage. For them, Izuku and Recovery Girl cleaned the surface wounds and bandaged them, one of the nurses' famous hugs doing the rest. I don't know if you've grasped the gravity of this situation, Recovery Girl said as she pulled Izuku to the side, their patients now resting comfortably in their cots. But a man came in here on the very brink of death and, thanks to you, all he has to show for it is a small scar. Just the one. No scar tissue anywhere else, no signs of trauma, not even a scab. And here you stand, looking fit as a fiddle. I've never seen anything like this, Midoriya, never. Principal Nizu was similarly impressed. I've had my eye on you for a while now, Midoriya, and you haven't stopped surprising me yet. I think it's safe to say we here at UA should expect great things from you. Meeting All Might was exciting in of itself, but getting a bone-crushing hug from the man was the cherry on top. You saved my friend, young Midoriya. You went plus ultra. But for Izuku, the most rewarding part of the day came when Aizawa opened his eyes and gave him a smile, the man's messy black hair pushed away from his face. I heard I have you to thank for keeping me alive, he said, Izuku guessing the nurse or principal had let it slip earlier. Izuku flushed. I couldn't just do nothing, I had to try to save you. I'm grateful. What's your name? Izuku Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya, thank you. Hatsume couldn't have been prouder of her friend, the two celebrating Aizawa's health in the freckled boys' dorm with sodas and snack cakes. I guess you were right, Aizu, you are a hero. He grinned at her. Thanks, Mei, that means a lot coming from you. Days later, Izuku was called into the infirmary again to meet with Principal Nizu and Recovery Girl. I'm sure you're quite tired of hearing this, the principal began, but what you did here was nothing short of heroic. You have my sincerest thanks. Izuku smiled. I did my best, sir. Unfortunately, your actions have brought up a rather sensitive issue we must discuss. Having you assist Recovery Girl with your quirk in regards to students of or near your own age is one thing. However, we cannot allow you to work with adults anymore. The freckled boy balked. What do you mean? It's an issue with optics, I'm afraid, as well as ethics. Your quirk requires you to place your lips upon the skin of another, and when that other is, for example, an adult man in a position of authority over you, those lines of ethics and morality become blurred. Simply put, it is completely inappropriate to have an underage student kissing any of the staff, regardless of the circumstances. But if I hadn't, Mr. Aizawa would have died. Izuku exclaimed. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He knew perhaps he shouldn't have done what he did, but someone's life was on the line. That's very true. Hopefully, there won't be another situation like that here again. For now, we must implement this policy. There may be some wiggle room in the future, but until then, please follow the rules. Izuku wanted to argue, but he knew his principal was right. Yes, sir, I understand. Good. Now then, on to much happier business. I've consulted with your teachers and have arranged for you to do a full week's internship here with Recovery Girl. I want you to learn as much as you possibly can about your quirk, and I can think of no better way to do it. You'll have to keep up with your regular studies independently, but at this point in the semester I don't think it should be too much of a hardship. Izuku's grin returned, his eyes shining. Thank you so much, sir. I promise, I'll be the best intern ever. Of that I have no doubt, Midoriya. Izuku's internship couldn't have come at a better time. After the attack on the USJ, the hero courses increased the amount of training the students were getting, which led to many more injuries than normal. Mirio was in and out of the infirmary with his usual level of frequency, occasionally bringing his friend Amajiki in for healing as well. Midoriya here is the real deal. The blonde told his quiet friend one day, Izuku planting kisses on both boys' cheeks. He was the one who saved Mr. Aizawa, but don't tell anyone. You're not even supposed to know that, much less be telling people, Izuku scolded, lightly smacking the smiling boy on the arm. Mirio just kept smiling, unfazed. Did I mention he was bossy too? Izuku also cared for second-year students, as well as some first years from Class 1B, all the while taking copious notes in his patient journal, which held the names, injuries, and quirk reactions of every patient Izuku treated. He had started it in the beginning of his time with Recovery Girl, and his notes only grew more detailed after healing Aizawa. Through it, he was able to confirm Recovery Girl's theory that his quirk allowed him to sedate whomever he kissed, sometimes enough to knock them completely unconscious. Mirio had readily agreed to let Izuku test this theory on him, the older boy's blue eyes rolling into the back of his head as Izuku kissed him, before falling flat on his back. Most of his patients who had been sedated, whether intentionally or not, became loopy and sluggish, their expressions dopey and their words nonsensical. "I think it's funny that you've become the best drug on campus," Hatsume teased one day, watching from her seat as Izuku kissed a 1B student's cheek, the girl giggling to herself as she played with her side ponytail. The pink-haired girl snickered into her bento box, while Izuku made more notes, muttering to himself. Aizawa continued to be Izuku's only patient that developed a scar after healing, which the freckled boy deduced to be related to just how severe his injuries were. "That means that as long as my patients aren't at death's door, my quirk won't leave a single trace of physical trauma once I've used it." Hatsume cocked her head. But what about psychological trauma? Your magic lips have a cure for that." "Maybe. I think that's the real reason I can sedate people or get them high or whatever. Protecting the mind while healing the body. It's a two-fold recovery system." The girl just shook her head. "And people think I'm the crazier of the two of us." Izuku grinned. "I just hide it better." Asterisk 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 asterisk. Recovery Girl had been leaving Izuku to his own devices more and more as he worked with her, some days abandoning the infirmary for more serious business altogether, having complete faith in her in turn. It was on one such day that Izuku met the first student from Class 1A to seek treatment from him. A tall boy with spiky red hair, sharp teeth, and a large cut on his arm. He was in costume, shirtless with 2 gears on each shoulder, baggy pants and a red sash-like belt with a prominent R emblazoned on the front. "Hello there," Izuku greeted him, smiling politely. "My name is Izuku Midoriya. What brings you in today?" The redhead just stared down at him, seemingly not having heard anything Izuku said. Are you okay?" The boy snapped out of his reverie, his cheeks pink. "Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Is Recovery Girl here? I've got a nasty cut that needs looking at." "She's not here," Izuku informed him, leading the taller boy to a cot. "But I'm her assistant and I'd be happy to help." Izuku flashed him a warm smile, the other boy now flushing. He inspected the arm, cleaning it, before leaning over and pecking the redhead on the cheek. He supposed he put a bit too much power into his quirk, for the boy was completely spaced out. "Oh darn sorry. I'm not used to using the sedative parts of my power yet. I didn't mean to give you much at all." But the boy was no longer listening, his cheeks flushed and his expression dreamy. Izuku let him rest for a bit, before sending him on his way, concerned about how long the effects of his quirk were lasting. Patient's laceration was of mild severity, Izuku muttered, jotting down notes. Yet the sedative effects of my quirk lasted far longer than usual. This could be attributed to either a lack of control of power output on my part or an increased susceptibility to the quirk on the patient's part. The next students to come in from 1A were a tall boy with glasses and a short brunette girl with pink chubby cheeks, only a day after the first. Like their fellow classmate, they too stared at him, but were gracious enough to give him their names, as well as learn his. "Okay, Tenya, Iida and Ochako Uraraka," Izuku chirped. "Let's take a look at you." He sensed only a cut on Uraraka's cheek, and some torn muscles in Iida's shoulder. "Don't worry, I've seen worse injuries than this," he assured the boy, who whispered, "How?" to Uraraka when Izuku's back was turned. He gave them each a kiss on the cheek, Iida's lasting a bit longer due to his injury. Both blushed hotly. I meant to say dash, the bespectacled boy was beside himself, at a complete loss for words as he made half-hearted chopping motions with his now healed arm. Uraraka was covering her face, and began to float away. "Is your class always this articulate?" Izuku wondered aloud. First the redhead, now them. Izuku was beginning to suspect that 1A might be a remedial class. After the two left, Izuku was visited by none other than Shinso, the purple-haired boy handing him a packet. Present Mike says this is the work you need to complete for this week, he informed the nurse aide, arms crossed. Thank you, Shinso. I'm sorry Present Mike made you deliver this. Shinso shifted uncomfortably. He didn't, I volunteered. Oh, that was nice of you, but why? Maybe I do want to make friends. He muttered, his cheeks pink. Izuku stared up at the boy, then grinned. Oh, Hatsume is just gonna eat you up. Hatsume did indeed enjoy teasing Shinso mercilessly, but the moody boy gave as good as he got, which made for fantastic entertainment for Izuku. I still can't believe your quirk is kissing people, Shinso commented, shaking his head. What's unbelievable is the school letting him use it on the other students, Hatsume added, mouth full of food. He's kissed 12 people just today. I'm helping people, Izuku defended. He thought back to that morning when more 1A students had come in injured. A frog-like girl had bit her tongue, which Izuku was startled to find out could be measured in feet, and a boy with a tail had 2 broken fingers. It's not like they mean anything, they're just harmless little cheek kisses. Just wait until the first groin injury comes in. Shinso. Izuku's face turned tourmaline pink as his friends laughed at him. I'm telling on you to Mirio, he grumbled. Mirio was a handful in his own way, the older boy earning the title of number 1 klutz from his green-haired friend. I can't help that my quirk sometimes injures me, he told Izuku cheerfully. It's just part of who I am. I've never gotten to see your quirk, the healer accused, wrapping a blue band-aid around a shallow cut on the blonde's finger. Occasionally, Mirio would request that he not receive any healing kisses, wanting to keep some scars as motivation. Izuku thought his friend was just strange. You see, recovery girl and the principal kind of forbade me from using my quirk when you're here, he admitted, his expression almost sheepish. Oh, why is that? So you don't see me naked. What? Asterisk 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 asterisk. Shoto Todoroki was silent as he and his classmate, Momo Yaoyorozu, walked to the infirmary together. The two had been in basic training with the rest of 1A and their teacher All Might, running a terrorist drill with he and Yaoyorozu as the villains. They faced off against the team of Bakugo the Hot Head and Kaminari the Empty Head, and had lost when one of Bakugo's explosions dropped the ceiling on them. Their training had become more intense after the attack on the USJ, with hero training now taking place 2 to 3 times a day. They had all been shaken by the attack and were afraid for Mr. Aizawa's life when the heroes had carried his mangled body away. They had all been astounded when the man came to class the very next day, a small scar on his face the only proof he was ever injured. Despite the miraculous recovery, Aizawa was adamant his students pushed themselves in training, no longer holding back. Shoto was used to harsh training, thinking back to his cruel father and horrible childhood. He was trying to overcome his issues and even make some friends, but it was difficult. He still only spoke when spoken to, and the friendliest thing he'd done thus far was let Ishido borrow a pencil. As they neared the infirmary door, Yaoyorozu paused. Thank you for helping me, she said quietly. One of the things Shoto liked about the girl, aside from her intellect and capabilities on the field, was that she seemed to be just as shy as he was, which made him feel just a bit better about himself. He tried to smile, but his expression remained neutral. You're welcome. As the two entered, Shoto's eyes were immediately drawn to the green-haired boy in the lab coat, his cheeks pink as an older boy said something to him. He turned as the two came closer. Oh, hello. My name is Izuku Midoriya, how can I help you? Shoto counted roughly 6 or 7 freckles on the boy's nose, as well as a few on each cheek. His green curls looked soft and fluffy, and his eyes were a perfect green, not too blue, not too yellow. Yaoyorozu elbowed him gently for staring, before addressing the healer. We were injured during training. My name is Momo Yaoyorozu, and this is Dash. Shoto Todoroki. Shoto introduced himself, bowing slightly. It's an honor to meet you. Izuku held back a laugh. Nice to meet you both. His eyes began scanning the two, his senses picking up their injuries. I'm seeing mostly cuts and some bruising. Yaoyorozu, you have a sprain in your ankle. He moved away from the older boy, ushering the two new students to sit on the infirmary cots. "Don't worry, you'll be good as new in no time," he told them brightly. He leaned forward, kissing both students on the cheek. Next to him, Shoto saw Yaoyorozu blush, her eyes unfocused, but all the dual-toned boy could focus on was his quickly fading injuries and the sweet-faced boy who fixed them. "You," he breathed out, realizing the obvious. "You were the one to heal Mr. Aizawa, weren't you?" Izuku looked at him, wide-eyed. "Oh, then you must be 1A students. I'm sorry about what happened at the USJ, that must have been terrifying." Shoto shrugged, wanting to look tough for the cute nurse. He spared a glance to Yaoyorozu, eyes widening as he noticed the girl was now unconscious. "What dash? Oh yeah, sometimes if a patient's injuries are bad enough, I can sedate them while they heal. I'm still figuring it out though." Shoto's visible wounds were now completely gone, and he stared at his arms in amazement. Izuku brightened. "You're free to go back to class, but your friend will need some time to sleep off my quirk. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you don't tell anyone about what I did for Mr. Aizawa. Technically speaking, I'm not allowed to use my quirk on adults." Shoto nodded. "I understand." As he walked out, Shoto spared a glance back to the other boy. The sunlight coming in from the window hit Izuku's curls, making them glow an ethereal green. Shoto gulped as he realized he didn't ever want to look away from the sight, nearly slamming into the infirmary door. Shoto saw the older student snickering at him and blushed. "Busted." Izuku stifled a yawn as he turned a page in the heavy book in front of him. He had been reading through one of Recovery Girl's many books on medicine, wondering if perhaps knowing more about the body and how to treat it would give him better control over his quirk. Izuku had spent most of the morning learning what the hero could teach him about anatomy and physiology, his head swimming with information. "I should also look into pharmacology, to see if my sedative ability can be altered to work like other drugs," he thought to himself, pulling out his notebook and scribbling down the idea. He heard the infirmary door open, pulling him out of his musings. "Be right there," he called out, placing the books down before stepping out of the office. As he passed the privacy screens, he saw 4 hero students in their costumes, one in particular causing the green-eyed boy's greeting to die on his tongue. Kachin. Standing before him was his old childhood friend, now older and taller, but undoubtedly him. His expression showed he was just as surprised, his red eyes flitting over the nurse aide. Fuck, what the hell are you doing here?" Izuku had to stifle a laugh, because of course his old friend would still be crass and abrasive. "I go to school here too. I went in for the hero course but didn't get in, but luckily I applied for general studies." He couldn't help the excessive talking, or the way his eyes watered just a bit. After nearly 10 years, he was finally seeing Kachin again. He led the group further into the infirmary, away from the door, before checking their injuries. Mirio had a bad habit of hanging around the door as well, and had been smacked with it by a student rushing in more times than the freckled boy could count. The girl with the strange earlobes didn't have any injuries, and the pink-skinned girl only had a scrape. The blonde boy had the most injuries, and Kachin only had a small cut. Izuku swooped in before Kachin could give him the tough guy speech, which the healer was sure was coming, and pecked him on the cheek, smiling proudly as the wound disappeared. He then did the same for the others, learning their names. "Jairu, Kaminari, and Ashido," he repeated, scribbling the names down in his patient notebook. "It's so nice to meet you guys. You know, I've had quite a few 1A students in here recently." Next to him, the girl named Jairu snorted. "What a coincidence," she muttered to Ashido, who giggled. As he sent them back to class, eyes trained on the spiky-haired blonde, Izuku felt a strange warmth in his stomach. He remembered days spent catching bugs in the park, playing superhero during recess and building castles in the sandbox. His heart ached at the nostalgia. Asterisk 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 asterisk. "I still can't believe Kachin is really here," Izuku mentioned to Hatsume and Shinso over lunch. "I guess I shouldn't be, considering UA has the #1 hero program, but still." At Shinso's confused look, Hatsume clarified. "Childhood best friend." The purple-haired boy quirked a brow. "I thought that was you?" "Nope. I'm the 2-bit, shabby replacement," she announced, taking a large bite out of her lunch. Izuku rolled his eyes. You were my Hosa best friend, Kacchan was my Mizutafu best friend, it's not that hard to follow. Am I your UA best friend? Shinso teased, earning a saccharine smile from the greenette. Nope. You're more like a stray cat that followed me home one day. Izuku decided, Shinso groaning at the analogy. You wound me, Midoriya. You deserve it, Shinso. The door to the infirmary opened, Amajiki appearing with a pretty, silver-haired girl, both sporting cuts and bruises. Izuku sighed, turning to his friends. If you'll excuse me, duty calls. As Izuku fussed over the patients, Hatsume turned to Shinso. He used to talk about this Kacchan dude all the time. If he weren't so oblivious, I'd think it was a crush. He's not the only oblivious one, Shinso thought, eyeing the pink-haired, half-mad inventor next to him. I've heard so much about you from Mirio and Amajiki, Nijire told Izuku after being introduced. It seems like they're always talking about you. Why'd you have to say it like that? It's so embarrassing. Amajiki complained, the shy boy moving to face a wall. Izuku giggled. Whatever you've heard, I'm sure they can't prove it, he told the girl with a wide grin, earning a laugh. Now I get it, cute and funny. Boy, I bet this place is packed when you're working, Nijire teased. Izuku gave her a confused look. What do you mean? Everyone who comes in is either injured or escorting somebody, except Hatsume and Shinso. He began chewing on his lip. To tell you the truth, I'm a bit worried for the 1A students. They seem to hurt themselves almost as much as Mirio. The older girl gave him a look he couldn't quite decipher. So that's how it is. Well, never you mind. I'm sure things will settle eventually. Asterisk 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 asterisk. At one point, Recovery Girl all but forced Izuku out of the infirmary, demanding he take a break from his nursing duties. The boy had tried to insist that he was fine, but the nurse wouldn't budge. And so, Izuku found himself in the school library, selecting a few books on medicine, quirk theory and the history of heroes. If he wanted to understand his power, garnering more knowledge on much older heroes wouldn't be a bad start. He held his selections in his arms, determined to find a quiet reading nook, when he spotted Yaoyorozu sat at a table alone, surrounded by books. He walked over to her hesitantly. Is it okay if I sit here? He asked her quietly when she looked up. The girl looked slightly flustered, but nodded. Izuku took copious notes on everything he thought could be useful in his chosen tomes, both he and the dark-haired girl working quietly for some time. As the period ended, Izuku carefully put his things away, neatly stacking his books to take to the checkout counter. As he stood, Yaoyorozu stopped him. It was nice seeing you again, even if we didn't get to talk, she told him. From the little time the two had spent together, both in the infirmary and now the library, the greenette could tell that the tall girl before him was awfully shy, something he could relate to. It was with friends like Mei and Mirio and even Kacchan that Izuku learned confidence, and he hoped Yaoyorozu could learn the same. He gave her a brilliant smile. It was nice seeing you too. Let me know if you ever want another study buddy. She gave him a soft, tentative smile. I'd like that. Izuku mostly spent the rest of his internship week helping the 1A students, who seemed to constantly be getting hurt in their training. Kaminari, Ashido and Kirishima came in the most, sometimes with one of the others escorting them. Yorozu, Iida and Uraraka usually took this task, although sometimes they would come in just to say hi to the freckled boy. Todoroki also came in with alarming frequency, the boy's right side covered in frostbite. I thought you told me you could control both ice and fire, Izuku mentioned with a slight frown one day, kissing the boy's left cheek to avoid touching the ice. You should be able to regulate your body temperature that way. I don't like my fire side, Todoroki mumbled, his eyes cast downward. Izuku hummed, collecting his thoughts. I won't ask because I'm sure it's not my business, but I will say this. Whatever it is that's making you dislike your fire shouldn't get in the way of your dreams. You're a really great guy, Todoroki, and I bet your fire is just as great as you are. He gave the quiet boy a warm smile, like the one he often gave Amajiki when he was in a mood, before leaving to let him rest. The next day, Todoroki came in with lunch for the both of them, a story about now using his fire in basic training and a smile. Izuku was thrilled. You have quite a nurturing spirit, Recovery Girl told him one day, after watching him interact with several students. Are you sure you don't want to go into support? It might be your calling. Izuku shook his head. All my life, all I ever wanted was to be a hero. I spent so many years before my quirk manifested thinking I'd never get to have that dream, and it crushed me. I know I don't have the most flashy or powerful quirk, but I know that I can make a real difference if I get the chance. The nurse gave him a big smile, as if she was waiting to hear that. Well, I guess there's no changing your mind, is there? Asterisk 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 asterisk. Izuku was excited to see Katsuki the next time he came in, the boy sporting some bloody knuckles. As he cleaned and healed the wound, Izuku looked at his friend. He was much larger than Izuku would have guessed, although he suspected the near-excessive training was the cause of it. His face had the same sharpness Izuku remembered his friend's mom having, though his nose turned out more like his dad's. It's been so nice meeting your friends, Kachin, Izuku told him after kissing the other boy's hand. It almost makes me feel like I'm part of the class. Deep down, Izuku was envious of the 1A students, who had gotten their shot at being heroes the first try. There were still options for him, both he and Shinso mapping out every possible avenue to still get to be licensed heroes, but it would be an even bigger uphill battle than the entrance exams proved to be. Next to him, Katsuki scoffed. How come you didn't get in anyways? Did you cry through the whole exam? Izuku glared, not because of what his friend was saying, but because he did get a little teary-eyed towards the end of the exam. No, I just wasn't strong enough, I guess. He knew that his friend wouldn't want to see him showing any weakness, so he put on a happy face and tried to look on the bright side. There was still hope, after all. He ignored the tears pricking the corners of his eyes, hoping the blonde would too. Katsuki stared down at him, before giving him a small smirk. Heh, still a princess, huh Deku? The greenette squawked in indignation. Not even. And I wouldn't exactly call you a white knight anymore either, Kachin. Oh yeah? Why is that? I've heard the mean things you say to the others, he told the red-eyed boy smugly, proud of himself for knowing so much about the hero students. I also know that Kirishima calls you his Bakubro, which is just adorable. Katsuki growled, but there was no heat behind it. Who you callin' adorable nerd? He leaned down into Izuku's face, the healer unfazed. He pinched the blonde's nose, grinning victoriously as his friend balked. The fuck was that, Deku? Izuku couldn't help but giggle, about to retort when the infirmary door opened, revealing Mirio. Hi there. Hope I'm not interrupting. Of course not, Izuku told him, not catching what Katsuki was grumbling about as the hot head stomped out, shoulder-checking Mirio as he did. Mirio just smiled like always, moving to his usual cot. What's his deal? Izuku shrugged. No clue. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The next time Izuku saw Mr. Aizawa walking down the hall, he did a complete 180 turn and raced after him. Mr. Aizawa. He called out, catching the man's attention. Midoriya, how can I help you? As Izuku paused to catch his breath, he looked up at the man whose life he had saved. The teacher looked healthy, his skin a normal color and his hair holding some shine. He looked tired, but the man always did from what the boy could tell. As he scanned him, Izuku found no new injuries or any residual physical trauma, aside from the scar under his eye. How are you feeling, sir? Any side effects from what happened? The tall man shook his head, his black curls bouncing in a way that Izuku thought was much too cute for someone who was essentially a back-alley hero. Not even a little. Took me a day to shake that sedative recovery girl warned me about, but otherwise nothing. Oh good, Izuku sighed. The greenette began to feel a little awkward as silence filled the hall, the teacher giving him a thoughtful look. I did some research on you after you helped me in the infirmary. Oh. He squeaked out, unsure what the man possibly could have found to warrant the look he was giving Izuku. Aizawa nodded. I looked at your file. Your quirk is listed as kisses, is that right? It is, sir, at least, that's the official registration. At the teacher's puzzled look, he continued. The quirk specialist I met with as a child wanted to keep my quirk registration broad, in case my quirk changed as I got older. Originally, the doctors wanted to list it as healing, but the specialist argued against it. The man nodded. It makes sense, given what Recovery Girl has told me about your quirk. It's obvious your quirk works through kisses, but it hasn't yet been determined what all you can do with it. I've been doing some research in the library. Apparently, a long time ago, there was another hero who had a kiss-based quirk as well, though there isn't much information on them. I've also been looking into different forms of sedatives and toxins that my power might be related to, but without a proper lab or a more in-depth quirk assessment, all I have to work with are theories. Interesting, I also happened to see your entrance exam scores. You applied for the hero course but missed the requirement by a single point. Yes, sir, but I haven't given up yet. I can always test into the course at the end of the year, or I can earn a spot through the sports festival. I have a friend, his name is Hitoshi, and he wants into the hero course just as much as I do, so don't be surprised when you see our faces in your class next year. Aizawa couldn't help the small smile that briefly flitted across his face at the boy's determined expression, looking so much like All Might it was comical. I look forward to it, Midoriya. It was on Friday, the last day of Izuku's week-long internship, when it happened. The boy was cleaning the infirmary, wiping down counters and organizing Recovery Girl's supplies as Mirio walked in with Nijire, the girl cradled in his arms. It's pretty bad, Mirio told him, the usually laid-back boy now serious. One of our classmates lost control and set off an earthquake at the training grounds. Nijire was on top of a building that crumbled, and she went down with it. Izuku urged him to put the girl on a cot, sensing her injuries. She's got a lot of broken bones and some internal bleeding. Will she be okay? Izuku's heart broke to see Mirio so worried for his friend. Everything will be just fine, he assured the blonde before turning to the girl. She was just barely conscious, a pained expression on her face. He leaned in, giving the girl 2 quick kisses in succession, gauging the effects. Just like with Aizawa, her bones snapped back into place as she fell unconscious, her features smoothing out as the sedative took hold. I'll have her rest here for the rest of the day. You can come get her this afternoon, once my quirk wears off, Izuku instructed, pulling out his trusty notebook to record the latest use of his quirk. Mirio nodded, his smile finally returning. Thanks, Midoriya. Boy, we're awfully lucky to have you around. And don't you forget it. The healer teased, smiling as the older boy left. A few hours later, another person walked in. He was a short boy, presumably from the hero courses judging by the costume he had on. His suit was a deep purple with yellow boots, gloves and a cape. He was wearing what looked to be a diaper around his hips, and had round protrusions coming out from the top of his head. Izuku thought he looked very strange. Hello, how can I help you? I scraped my elbow, the boy complained, his nasally voice filling the room. Izuku came closer to inspect it. The injury could hardly be called a scrape, it was small and shallow, with only a single droplet of blood escaping from it. It doesn't look serious. Of course it does. What kind of a nurse are you? Izuku narrowed his eyes at the boy's tone. The best I can do for you is a band-aid. Do you want to pick the color? I thought you were the kissing nurse. You know, the one everybody has been geeking out over? I only like to use my quirk on serious injuries. It was a lie. Izuku would happily use his quirk to help anyone who asked, regardless of the injury, but something about this boy set him on edge. I'll be right back with your band-aid. He moved over to the supply cabinet, fishing out the first band-aid he could find. When he came back, he nearly dropped it in shock as he saw the boy reaching over Nijire's sleeping form, his hand inches from her breast. You step away from her right now. Izuku hadn't known he could sound so intimidating, but it did the trick as the boy flinched and stepped away. I didn't do anything. I was just looking at her, I swear. Izuku took a menacing step forward, his hands shaking with anger. You are going to leave right this instant, or else I'll be calling the principal. The boy's face paled. I told you I wasn't doing anything. He began crying, a bubble of snot coming out of his nose. Izuku wanted to barf. The boy finally turned tail and ran, almost running into Amajiki as he did. I came to check on Nijire, he told Izuku as he walked in. taken aback by the usually sweet nurse aide's murderous expression. Did something happen just now? Yes. Amajiki, could you please stand watch over Nijire for a while? I have to go speak to the principal. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Ah, I see, Nizu said contemplatively after Izuku finished telling him everything. Well, this is indeed a terrible situation. The two turned at the sound of the office door opening. Mr. Aizawa and a burly man Izuku didn't recognize walking in. Thank you for coming, Vlad, Eraserhead. Midoriya, Aizawa addressed the greenette. What are you doing here? Midoriya was just telling me that a hero student tried to assault Nijire in the infirmary, Nizu explained, the two men's eyes widening in alarm. Izuku nodded. He came in for a band-aid, and when I came back from getting him one, he was standing over her with his hands over her breast. Vlad narrowed his eyes. Is she okay? She is. She's been unconscious all day, which I'm guessing is why that boy thought he could get away with it. Amajiki is with her now. Did he tell you his name? Aizawa asked, already having one in mind. No, but he was wearing his hero costume. It was purple and yellow, and part of it looked like a diaper. He also had these strange orbs on top of his head. Minoru Mineta, Aizawa deduced, his lips curling distastefully around the name. He hadn't given the boy permission to go to the infirmary, so he must have snuck away when the teacher wasn't looking. Thank you for telling us this, Midoriya, Nizu addressed the freckled boy. We'll handle things from here. Thank you, sir. Izuku gave the adults a short bow before leaving the office. As he walked back to the infirmary, all the healer could think about was what would have happened if he hadn't been there, and his body burned with guilt. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Nijire was understandably upset by the news, but thanked Izuku for looking out for her. He gave the girl a weak smile, wishing he had just dealt with the boy himself and spared her from the situation altogether. Next to her, Amajiki looked fiercer than the greenette had ever seen him, a fiery determination clear on his features. If you hadn't been here, if I had walked in and saw... The older boy was beside himself, Nijire placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. It's no good worrying about what-ifs, she told him. I'm okay, and that's what matters. The boy nodded, leaning into her and muttering softly in her ear. Izuku figured this was meant to be a private moment, so he left the two to their own devices until Mirio came to collect them both. As Izuku was preparing to leave the infirmary for the evening, Nizu came in to speak with him. I wanted to be the first to tell you that the Mineta boy has been removed from the hero course and expelled from UA, he informed the freckled boy cheerfully. I've informed Miss Nijire of this as well. Naturally, we couldn't keep someone so unheroic in a hero training program. After all, the safety of our students is UA's top priority. That's wonderful to hear, Principal Nizu, Izuku replied. I was hoping you had a minute to come to my office, Midoriya. Now that your internship with Recovery Girl is officially over, there's something I wish to speak with you about. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Back in the principal's office, Izuku politely sipped the tea the small creature handed him. I've always prided myself on being at least 10 steps ahead in every situation. It's all part of my quirk, you see, being able to plan and strategize for any situation. Not sure what to say, Izuku merely nodded, taking another sip of his tea. When I first came across your file after the entrance exams, I must admit nothing appeared to be all that exciting at first glance. Then, Recovery Girl told me about your heroics during the exam, then I witnessed that same heroics after the USJ incident, and now this. Nizu smiled at the young hero across from him. Truly, I can think of no better candidate to fill Mineta's spot in the 1A hero course, which is why I'm offering you the opportunity. Izuku's eyes widened as he nearly choked. On his tea. Sir, are you sure? I mean yes, I would love to join the hero course but dash. Splendid. Nizu interrupted the boy before he could begin rambling. I'll have the paperwork completed before you begin classes on Monday. I have complete faith in you, Midoriya, and I know Recovery Girl and Mr. Aizawa do as well. Izuku tried to hold the tears back as he thanked the principal and bowed, but it was no use. He cried the entire walk back to the 1C dorms, composing himself just slightly as he paused in front of the building. He turned to his right, seeing the lights of the 1B and 1A dorms glowing nearby. He had wanted so badly to be allowed into the hero course, and now he was finally getting his chance. When Izuku opened the door to his room, he was unsurprised to see Shinso lounging on his bed, the tall boy reading a book. "You're home late," he remarked, not taking his eyes away from his book. "Out with your mistress again?" "If by mistress you mean the principal," Izuku groaned, flopping into his desk chair. "It's been a long day, Toshi. I'll bet. One of the hero kids got kicked out today." Violet eyes cut over to green. "I'm guessing that was your doing." "It was his own doing," the greenette muttered darkly. He told Shinso everything, the other boy's expression hardening as he did. "Expulsion almost doesn't seem like enough," he said, moving to the futon on the floor so Izuku could have the bed. It had become a common occurrence for the two, Shinso coming to spend the night in Izuku's room when he couldn't sleep. The freckled boy was an exceptionally heavy sleeper, which left him undisturbed while Shinso watched videos well into the early morning hours. It was rare that the purple-haired boy let Izuku sedate him, but he'd happily accept his company even if the other was sound asleep for it. "Principal Nizu gave me Mineta's spot in the class," Izuku told his friend quietly. "Shinso sighed. I'm not surprised. Nizu's been fond of you since the thing with Aizawa." At Izuku's shocked expression, he continued. "Mei told me, but it's not like it would have been hard to figure out." "I'm sorry." "Don't be, I know you were sworn to secrecy." "No, not that, I'm sorry about the hero course. I know how badly you want in, and it feels like I'm taking a spot away from you." Izuku stared down at his hands, nervously picking at them. "Of course I want to be there, I just wish I could bring you with me." The boy turned as Shinso placed a hand on his shoulder. "Izuku, after everything you've gone through, after everything you've done, no one deserves this as much as you do." Shinso let out a sigh. "Yours is one of the most heroic quirks I've ever seen. You heal people, fix them. When I see people like you, I'm reminded of everything I'm not." Izuku knew immediately what he was referring to. It had been a cornerstone in their friendship, when Shinso had confided in him what his quirk was. Convincing the purple-haired boy that his quirk wasn't evil just because that's what society thought was a slow-going process, but Izuku had faith they'd reach a breakthrough soon. "You're a good friend, Toshi, and you're gonna make an amazing hero," Izuku told him, eyes shining. Then he remembered something. "You called her Mei just now," he teased, grinning. At the light blush dusting Shinso's face, Izuku's grin became sharp. I knew it. You like Hatsume. Leave me alone." "But it's so cute." Asterisk 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 asterisk. Aizawa let out a weary sigh as he trudged to the principal's office, the sun just beginning to peek over the horizon. As an underground hero, Aizawa had spent most of his career working through the night, using the cover of darkness to his advantage. Now as a teacher, facing the daylight hours was proving strenuous, even after so many years of adjustment. He entered the office, taking note of present Mike, Midnight and All Might's presence as well, Nizu offering the group tea. "I've decided to move Izuku Midoriya into Class 1A, to fill the spot left now that Mineta is no longer with us," the principal announced cheerfully. His choice of words, joyful tone and history of sadistic behavior led the teachers to believe it best not to inquire too deeply about what became of the expelled student. Aizawa hummed. "I had a feeling you'd be moving him into my class sooner or later, even before the business with Mineta, we had an open spot." "Precisely, though I dare say still having that initial spot open will make the upcoming sports festival that much more interesting. I'm gonna miss having the little listener in my homeroom, but I trust your judgment, Nizu." "Oh!" cried present Mike, Aizawa shooting him an irritated look. "I'm happy for Midoriya, but is there any reason all of us are here?" Midnight asked, the woman adjusting her long hair as she spoke. "There is. You see, Midoriya is still learning what his quirk can do, and needs as much training as he can get. Unfortunately, given how rigorous the hero course can be, he won't be able to work in the infirmary any longer, As such, I would like both you and All Might to help the boy develop his quirk. Next to Midnight, the number 1 hero tensed. Surely you don't mean that after all, he's a child and we're dash. He's not suggesting you make out with a student, Aizawa snapped, the early hour and inane conversation running the man's patience thin. Obviously we need to send in a request for an in-depth quirk assessment for Midoriya before we determine the best course of action going forward. What a fantastic suggestion, Nizu praised, but Aizawa was no fool. That was the little creature's plan all along, and he was leading the 4 grown adults to the same conclusion by spoon-feeding them information as if they were children. As they convened the meeting, the teachers separating to tend to their own affairs, Aizawa was stopped by All Might's hand on his shoulder. Aizawa, a word? The underground hero grunted, turning to face his colleague. All Might had foregone his hero form, the blonde's naturally lanky form taking the place of his usual muscles and bright smile. Listen, I know it's not wise to question Nizu, but are we sure this is really a good idea? I mean, yeah, the kid's got a strong quirk, but it's not exactly combat material. And he's so little, I'm worried he could get seriously hurt trying to keep up with the other hero kids. Aizawa narrowed his eyes, arms folding across his chest. He had never much cared for All Might, thinking the man far too flashy and concerned with his own popularity. So not only do you doubt Midoriya's strength and resolve, but you doubt my teaching abilities as well? Don't get short with me, Eraserhead, you know what I meant. Until we discover Midoriya's full potential with his quirk, I see no reason to coddle him or underestimate him. The man said flatly, I've experienced firsthand just how great of a hero he can be and, to be quite frank, I think my other students should be more nervous of him than he of them. With that, Aizawa continued on the path back to his office, determined to take a quick nap before grading any papers. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Izuku tried to contain his nerves as he walked to the 1A classroom on Monday, his hands trembling. Shinso and Hatsume had wished him luck that morning, and he carried that with him as he walked in, all eyes turning to him. He blushed. Hi everyone, sorry I'm late, Mr. Aizawa, recovery girl needed me. He assured the teacher it would be the last time, unless there was a real emergency. Having been told he wouldn't be allowed to work in the infirmary any longer had been hard, but understandable. After all, he wouldn't be able to learn much if he was constantly leaving class to heal cuts and scrapes. Izuku's eyes flitted around the room. There were some faces he didn't recognize, but the majority were all people he had met and befriended to some extent. Yaoyorozu, Iida, Kirishima, Uraraka, Todoroki, Kacchan. He smiled sheepishly as he took his seat, an empty desk right behind Katsuki. He blushed lightly as his old friend turned around to face him, the blonde smirking. Glad you're here, Princess Deku. Glad to be here, Kacchan. The hero courses were both everything Izuku could have ever dreamed and nothing he could have prepared for. In hindsight, he should have known how rough training would be, given how many hero students he treated on a daily basis. Aizawa had him train just as hard as the others, if not harder, given his inexperience. On top of that, Izuku also had extra lessons to attend with All Might and Midnight after classes, the sessions lasting late into the evening with the boy dragging himself back to the dorms each night. Moving into the 1A dorms had been bittersweet, for even though the 1A students seemed to spend more time together as a group than 1C had, and welcomed him with open arms, Izuku couldn't help but feel bad leaving Shinso all alone with no one to comfort him when he couldn't sleep. The common room seemed to brighten as he walked in, his new friends smiling at him as plopped onto the couch, groaning softly. Rough day training? Yaoyorozu asked, giving the boy a sympathetic smile from her spot next to him. The roughest, All Might and Midnight are committed to getting me up to speed with you guys. I'm happy to do it, I just wish I wasn't so sore. Quit your damn complaining, nerd, Katsuki half-heartedly snapped at him, before handing the freckled boy a bowl of stew. I made dinner. Thanks, Kacchan. Izuku chirped, his smile wide as he took a bite. This is your mom's recipe, right? It tastes just how I remember. Katsuki glared at his classmates, who were still largely unused to seeing the softer side of the explosive boy. Whatever, just don't spill any on the couch. He took the spot on Izuku's opposite side, silently challenging the others to say something as his arm came up to rest behind the nest of green curls. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The days seemed to fly by for Izuku as his first week in the hero course ended, the boy exhausted from the extra training. He had been spared an additional session with All Might that Friday, in favor of meeting with Aizawa to discuss his progress. All Might and Midnight have told me you're a quick study, his teacher commented, his expression neutral. Izuku nodded. I've been doing my best, sir. The training has been tough, but I'm managing. That's good to hear. I've called you in to let you know that the quirk specialist the school hired will be here tomorrow. You're to meet with them in the infirmary to get an in-depth quirk assessment now that you're training to be a pro hero. I'll be there, thank you, sir. Recovery Girl will be there to supervise, but myself or the others can come too, if you wish. Thank you, but I'll be okay, promise? Aizawa couldn't help the small smile that appeared on his face. He had a bit of a soft spot for the healer, not that he'd ever admit it. Hearing from the other teachers just how well the boy was doing with his training assured him that the principal had made the right decision in transferring him. Very well then. That will be all, Midoriya. The next morning, Izuku arrived at the infirmary right at 9, walking in to find Recovery Girl chatting with a man Izuku guessed was the specialist. Hello, you must be Midoriya, the man said with a polite smile, and Izuku realized just then how strange it was to be the one getting that greeting as opposed to giving it. Komein. We should really get started. The specialist informed him that his quirk allows him to read other quirks, to an extent. It's not perfect, which is why we have a few other tests to run, but it should be a big help. They took a few samples of his blood, sweat, and saliva, running them through a special machine Izuku had only ever seen sitting and used in the storage closet. He then took a few extra measurements to round out the physical, while checking for any mutations in the mouth and throat areas. Eventually, the specialist activated his quirk, the man's eyes gleaming yellow as he assessed the healer. I see, that's very interesting. He muttered, unblinking as he took in the information. The man smiled as his eyes returned to normal, moving away from the freckled boy. It seems you have an emitter-type quirk that allows you to alter the biology of others. Right, that's how I heal people, isn't it? It is. By focusing on what physiological response you want from the target, you can stimulate the body to the desired response with your lips. If you want to heal someone, you need only to think about it and then make contact. I see. Izuku's mind was swirling with the possibilities. He had been able to heal people with his quirk simply by wanting them to heal, but without really understanding what he was doing, he was subconsciously activating different receptors in the body, which most likely caused the sedation effects. This means that if I learn more about what kinds of bodily responses are possible, I can do more than just heal the body. Cell regeneration, sedation, paralysis, hypertrophy, it's all possible. Sir, were you able to find any weaknesses? He asked the specialist, who gave him a polite smile. Afraid not. That's not something I'm able to do with my quirk, so you'll have to figure it out on your own, but that's what schools like UA are for. Asterisk 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 asterisk. After thanking the both specialist and recovery girl for their time, Izuku hurried off to the library. He quickly spotted the group he was looking for and rushed over to their table. Awaiting him were Yaoyorozu, Todoroki, and Iida, the group smiling as he sat down. I brought your bag for you, Midoriya. You left it in the common room, Iida told him. Thanks. Izuku began pulling out his pens and notebooks, the others already set up to begin. How was the assessment? Todoroki leaned forward, heterochromatic eyes trained on the healer. It went well. I got a lot of information about my quirk that'll come in handy when I train with All Might and Midnight. Yaoyorozu smiled. That's great news. You'll be caught up with us in no time. That's if I don't get ahead of you, Izuku teased, giving the girl a competitive look which she matched easily. The greenette wouldn't admit it, especially in front of the others, but Yaoyorozu was quickly becoming one of his favorite classmates. The group began working on their assignments, quietly discussing the material and helping one another with solving problems and creating study guides. Izuku found it to be quite relaxing, working with these three as opposed to the chaotic Hatsume or the despondent Shinso. As they finished their session, Yaoyorozu spoke up. I was wondering if you'd all like to share phone numbers, that way we can have a group chat to coordinate our study sessions. That's a great idea, Izuku told her, smiling brightly. The boys gave Yaoyorozu their numbers, the girl adding them to a group chat labeled the Study Buddies. It's kind of like a hero team name, Izuku said enthusiastically, the others smiling as he began a long tangent on the importance of proper team names. Speaking of names, have you come up with a hero name yet? Iida asked the boy as they walked back to the dorms. Izuku shook his head, humming. I haven't given it much thought, to be honest. What about your costume? Or any special moves? I don't mean to concern you, but the rest of us have at least our costumes, and some have even picked out viable hero name options. I guess I should start working on those things now that I'm in the hero course, he muttered, pulling out his patient journal and flipping to the back, scribbling down a few ideas. Asterisk 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 asterisk. You came to the right place, Aizu, Hatsume exclaimed, her wide grin obscured by the welding mask she had on. We'll have you fully outfitted within the week. Now, tell me about your quirk. Shouldn't you already know? You are his childhood friend, after all, Yaoyorozu remarked. Izuku had come to Hatsume to help him with his costume, and Ishido, Yaoyorozu and Aoyama had invited themselves along as well. Shinso had already been in the support lab when they arrived, the boy mindlessly twirling a screwdriver in his hands. I know the basics, but not enough to create a fully realized hero persona. I thought I was supposed to do that part, Izuku argued, wrinkling his nose at the pink-haired girl. I just need help with the costume design. Which is why you need my help as well, Aoyama declared, striking a pose. After all, I am the most fashion-conscious person in one, maybe even the whole school. You certainly are dressed lavishly, Shinso commented, taking in the blonde's tight black pants and flowing chiffon shirt. He looks like a pirate. Indeed, and my dear friend Midoriya possesses the right insesqua to be just as glamorous, if he only listened to good advice. Which is why I came, Ishido said proudly. I've got way more style than Mr. Bellybutton over here. Ishido, your cruel words sting. I came to help with the materials, Yaoyorozu told Hatsume. I can create any non-organic item from my body, so long as I understand it compositionally. I think my quirk works similarly, Izuku told her. At least according to the specialist. I can manipulate the biology of others, with my quirk factor being my lips. Therefore, the more I understand about biological processes, the better control I'll have. Interesting. Izuku could see the wheels turning in Hatsume's head. Then we can assume your quirk will remain more or less on the not-so-flashy side of the spectrum, right? Which means the costume will have to be more eye-catching to compensate. The girl pulled out her sketch pad, creating the outline of a body before sketching in a basic suit, adding in details and short notes to accompany her ideas. I can see why the two of you are such good friends, Yaoyorozu said, eyeing the pink-haired girl apprehensively as she began muttering and giggling to herself. She's mostly harmless, Izuku said dismissively, peeking over Hatsume's shoulder at the sketch. Mei, why does this look like something a child would wear? Not a child, Hatsume corrected, a cutesy hero. Izuku blinked. Cutesy? Since when am I cutesy? Shinso covered his mouth with his hand as what sounded suspiciously like a laugh bubbled out of him. Izuku frowned. I'm not cutesy. At least, I don't think I am. He turned to the others, feeling betrayed when none of them would meet his eyes. I hate to break it to you, Midoriya, but you're downright adorable. Ishido clapped a hand on his shoulder, her eyes gleaming with mirth. Exactly. Just like Midnight, you need to lean into your strengths. Hers is sexiness, yours can be cuteness. Hatsume was working herself into a fervor as she began making alterations to her sketch, blindly grabbing for colored pencils to create a color palette. I was thinking mostly green, to match the hair and the eyes, with pops of color here and there. If the utility belt is going to be white, the boots should match, Ishido commented, leaning into Hatsume's left shoulder, while Aoyama took the right. Maybe pink as the accent? Of course, pink. It's brilliant. Why don't you and I work on hero stuff while they do? But Yaoyorozu suggested, Izuku eternally grateful to be off the subject of silhouettes and stitching accents. The two sat at the table Shinso was occupying, the purple-haired boy leaning in to participate. Since the sports festival is next week, it would be a good idea to think about how you plan on standing out, she told him. It's not just about showcasing your quirk, you want the audience to see what kind of hero you'll become once you graduate. Izuku nodded, noting Shinso's intrigued expression from the corner of his eye. You're right, this is an opportunity to make a good impression on everyone watching. The greenette felt a small stab of guilt in his stomach. He hadn't spent nearly as much time as he should have preparing for his hero debut. He'd been caught up with getting into UA, then with getting into the hero program, and he'd spent almost no time thinking about the kind of hero he wanted to be seen as. Hatsume was right about finding something to lean into, he finally said. I guess if everyone thinks cutesy is the way to go, I can give it a shot. It doesn't have to be a personality overhaul, Yaoyorozu told him kindly. Just a difference in how you carry yourself when in costume. Midnight isn't sexy 24/7, just like Present Mike isn't loud 24/7. It's part of their hero persona and what that symbolizes for the people who see them in action. Next to him, Shinso looked to be deep in thought, no longer listening to Izuku or Yaoyorozu. Izuku hoped the conversation had helped him too, since the sports festival was his first real chance at getting into 1A. Asterisk 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 asterisk. A few days later, when it came time for fitting, Izuku nervously stepped out in the costume his friends designed for him. Oh, this is perfect, Hatsume purred, her grin sharp and wicked. Izuku's costume was a form-fitting dark green jumpsuit, with patches on his knees, elbows and shoulders. The original design for gloves had been scrapped and replaced with white knuckle dusters that matched his boots and utility belt. Izuku would later learn that the knuckle duster edition had resulted in an hour's extra paperwork for the shop teacher power loader, as well as his own teacher Mr. Aizawa, in order to get permission to use them. Atop his head were white heart-shaped goggles, and there were white kiss marks all over the suit's arms, back and sides. It looks better than I ever could have dreamed, Ashido sighed as Aoyama began to tear up. Look my friend, look. See how the white accents glisten with pink shimmer under the lights? I told you it was the perfect way to add sparkle and shine. Yaoyorozu looked proud as she gave him the once-over. I'm amazed at how well the material turned out. I created a lot of it using my quirk to cut down on costs. Hatsume had thrown her arms around her green-eyed friend, her excitement radiating off of her. Well? Tell me what you think, Aizu. Isn't it just perfect? Izuku looked down at the knuckle dusters, which had ridges in the shape of a kiss mark on each knuckle. He glanced in the mirror and grinned. It really is. It looks cute without looking juvenile, and the theme is instantly recognizable. Aoyama, Ashido, you two would be great at hero marketing. Ooh, that would make a pretty decent side gig, huh? You're right. Why should I keep my dazzling brilliance all to myself? I could help even more fashion disasters than just Midoriya. Izuku pouted. He wasn't a fashion disaster, just a bit clueless. Izuku had a brilliant smile on his face as he got to show off his new costume during training. Since joining 1A, the greenette had to wear the school's gym outfit to all of the training sessions while his classmates sported their hero gear. Now armed with his costume, Izuku felt even more like a part of the class. The others were completely silent as they drank in the sight, and for a brief moment Izuku wondered if Hatsume and the others had been too generous in their admiration of his appearance. Midoriya, you look incredible. Uraraka gushed, rushing to his side. Wow, the details in this are great and is that pink shimmer? This is too cute. I told you, Midoriya. Ashido chirped, she, Yaoyorozu and Aoyama wearing matching grins as they caught the sea of pink cheeks on their classmates. Izuku gave the group a bashful grin, studying the reactions of his classmates. The girls looked over the moon, even the invisible Hagakure giving an enthusiastic vocal response. Kirishima's face was the same color as his hair, and Iida was beginning to stutter. Katsuki and Ojiro were doing their best to look anywhere but him and Todoroki, while impassive as always, was staring him down intensely. It's really working, Izuku thought to himself, making a mental note to write down the results in his notebook once class ended. Aizawa had no outward reaction, other than a curt nod and, "It suits you," before beginning the class. Today we'll be practicing sparring, so get ready to partner up. Izuku hadn't a moment to think about who to choose as his partner, as Iida had come up to him immediately with a burst of speed from his engines. "Midoriya, train with me today." "All right," the greenette grinned, and the two moved to the side to watch the first pair spar. Bakugo had picked Kirishima, both boys trying their hardest, with Kirishima eventually losing the match to the hothead. Uraraka took her turn with Azui, their match taking much longer as Uraraka chased after the agile frog. Eventually, Azui managed to win, Uraraka looking slightly put out as the moved off to the side. "Midoriya, you're up next." Izuku took a deep breath as he entered the ring, eyes trained on the taller boy. "Iida's a lot faster than me thanks to his quirk, and he's probably stronger too, but he's bulky, which I can use to my advantage. He's wearing his armor, which means using my quirk will be tough, unless I can get his helmet off. If I rely on agility like Azui did, I can wear down his stamina and then make my move." Izuku readied his stance, Iida doing the same. The match began, and Iida raced forward, just as Izuku predicted. He bent his knees and shot into the air as his opponent neared, using the taller boy's shoulder as leverage as he flipped over his opponent's head and landed behind him. Quickly turning, Izuku managed to land 3 quick strikes to the other boy through an opening between his armor plates. Iida stumbled forward, and Izuku quickly set about getting his helmet off, rolling away as Iida raced to the opposite side of the ring. Izuku quickly tossed the helmet outside the ring, sizing up his opponent once again. The match has barely begun, so he has plenty of energy left, and with the risk of me using my quirk back in play, he'll be anxious to end this sooner rather than later. He'll rush me again, which means it's now or never. He took in the light flush on Iida's cheeks, and the way his eyes would flit to his face, then his outfit, then away, then back again. He's distracted, Izuku realized with a small start. He knew how he was going to win the match. He began moving forward, readying his stance as Iida charged. He made to dodge, then purposefully turned the wrong way, causing him to smash into Iida's front. The taller boy instinctively wrapped his arms around the greenette, hands settling on his waist to keep him from falling. Izuku took the opportunity to surge upwards, planting a quick kiss on Iida's chin. He watched as the class rep's eyes rolled into the back of his head before he collapsed, knocked out. Izuku won the match. Asterisk 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 asterisk. You did a great job today in training, Midoriya. Izuku smiled at Uraraka, thanking her as he took a bite from his lunch. The two were sitting with Azui, Iida and Todoroki in the cafeteria, with the rest of Class 1A scattered about nearby. Across the way, the green-eyed boy could see Kirishima and Jair laughing at something Mina said, Bakugo sitting stone-faced between the redhead and Kaminari. "I'm impressed with how well you were able to move, Ribbit. Iida's normally too fast for any of us to get past him." "I thought the same thing," he said, until I realized Iida's armor restricted his range of movement in the arms. He wouldn't be able to grab me from above, so I used my gymnastics to my advantage and vaulted over, which gave me a good view of a weak spot in his armor. Izuku set his chopsticks down, continuing. "I also predicted that once his helmet was off, leaving him exposed to my quirk, he'd be more anxious to finish the match, and more likely to be caught off guard. That's why I faked tripping." "You faked that?" Uraraka asked between bites of her sandwich. "It looked like an accident. It was meant to. I figured he'd either try to balance me or push me out of the ring. Either way, I'd have an opening to use my quirk and win the match." Izuku began to feel uncomfortable as he felt 4 sets of eyes gazing at him from around the table. "That's incredible," Iida breathed. "You came up with a winning strategy, and to think of it in the heat of battle." Izuku shrugged. "For most of my life, my quirk wasn't really good for anything besides support, so I had to rely on my brains to prepare for getting into UA. It didn't really help me out in the hero entrance exams, but still." Todoroki blinked. "I've seen your journals. You have a mind for analysis and strategy. No wonder you and Yaoyorozu get along so well. The freckled boy grinned. That might be an unfair comparison. Yaoyorozu is practically a super genius. That's true, she's the only one who's managed a grade higher than 90 on Mr. Aizawa's exams, ribbit. That reminds me, Izuku muttered, pulling out his phone. Hatsume wanted me to bring her to the support labs later, something about a new invention that might help her. Uraraka shook her head. That girl weirds me out. She's so obsessed with those babies of hers, and she's always talking to herself. Did you forget that Midoriya does the same thing, and is right in front of you? Azui teased, the others laughing as Izuku pouted. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Well, don't we look adorable? Midnight purred, taking in Izuku's new costume. The two were meeting for their scheduled afternoon training, the others having left for the dorms after class. Izuku fidgeted. Yeah, Hatsume and some of the others think I should be leaning into being cute to give me an advantage. A smart strategy. If you have something that could be an asset, you must be willing to utilize it in the field. The greenette nodded. I managed to win my sparring match this morning because of it. I don't know how good of a strategy it will be long-term, but it gave me a split second to act, which is all I needed. That's what I like to hear. The hero proclaimed, brandishing her whip. Most of the big shots like to think that bombastic quirks are what make a great hero, but that's not the case. Take myself or Eraserhead. We both have non-combative quirks that we have learned to use offensively, when able to. We have to do the same for you. Izuku pulled out his notebook, flipping to a specific page and showing the woman. I have some ideas I want to try, if that's okay. As she scanned the page, Midnight's grin became sharp. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Asterisk 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 asterisk. I came up with a fantastic idea for your quirk. Hatsume enthused, her eyes glinting as she stepped closer. Yaoyorozu was beginning to look a little flustered as the pink-haired girl invaded her space. Izuku had to hold back a giggle as Hatsume began pulling things out of various containers, shoving them at the taller girl. I remembered you saying that your creation quirk requires you to make things using the lipids from your body. Well, in order to keep the amount of lipids available to you at a reasonably high level, I created these dense, macronutrient snacks that can be stored at room temperature in a compartment on your belt. That way you have a consistent fuel supply to help you with your quirk. Hatsume, this is incredible, thank you. The inventor just shrugged, grinning. Happy to help, Momo. Now be a dear and eat one. We have to test them out before you can use them in the sports festival. Izuku decided to leave them to it, making his way back to the dorms. On his way, he noticed a cluster of 1B and general studies students bunched together, arguing with someone. As he got closer, the greenette groaned as he heard Katsuki antagonizing the other students, Kirishima desperately trying to defuse the situation. He spotted Izuku and cried out to him. Midoriya, you gotta help. Bakubro keeps picking fights with these guys, and he's making our class look like jerks. Izuku placed a reassuring hand on the redhead's shoulder. I'll handle this. He pushed his way to the front of the group, right in front of Katsuki. Kachin, stop picking on these guys. Ah, they came up to me. The freckled boy narrowed his eyes. I know you too well for you to try and play innocent. Now come on, we have homework to do. Katsuki looked like he wanted to argue, so Izuku switched tactics. Keep it up, and I'll knock you out in front of everyone and your reputation will be ruined. The blonde looked shocked at his normally meek friend threatening him so brazenly, before smirking. Finally grew some claws, huh princess? Whatever, these nerds are lame anyways. Katsuki shoved his way past the other students, earning several heated glares as he did. Thanks Midababe, I really owe you one, Kirishima said sheepishly. I'll remember that, Izuku said, a coy grin on his face as he made for the exit. Before he got outside, a hand stopped him. He looked up to see Shinso staring down at him, his expression determined. Izuku, I just want to tell you that I won't be holding back at the sports festival, the purple-haired boy began. It's my shot at getting into the hero course, and I can't let our friendship get in the way of that. If we go up against each other, I'm going to do everything I can to beat you. The healer noticed that his friend looked more rested than usual, no doubt getting as much sleep in as possible between classes and training for the event. Secretly, Izuku hoped that his friend did beat him, as well as anyone else he needed to in order to place in the festival. Being in Class 1A was wonderful, but being in Class 1A with Shinso, who wanted in so badly it kept him up at night, would be perfect. Izuku nodded, his expression matching the taller boy's. I understand, I won't be holding back either. Good. The buzzer screeched as time was called, the sound echoing through the stadium. The crowd cheered as the second round of the UA Sports Festival came to an end, the cavalry battle leaving the arena in a chaotic state with shards of ice and rock strewn about the space. Izuku fought to catch his breath as beads of sweat dripped down his forehead, a headband clutched tightly in his fist. It's not enough points, he realized. I didn't grab the 10 million point headband, and now we don't have enough points to move forward. He grit his teeth. He'd managed to come in first in the obstacle course through quick thinking and good luck, which immediately backfired as he was given the highest point value of the contestants, painting a target on his back. Working with Hatsume was a given, but seeing as Todoroki, Iida and Yaoyorozu formed a team without him, he had to scramble for other teammates. He was a bit hurt that none of the other study buddies would team up with him, but he had expected as much. Both Iida and Yaoyorozu had said they wanted to beat him, and Todoroki had practically declared war on him before the festival had even begun. He knew Katsuki wouldn't want to rely on him, and Shinso had expressly stated he wouldn't do so either, both opting to form their own teams. Thankfully, Uraraka and Tokoyami were willing to join him, the latter becoming their saving grace as he held up a high-point headband. I snatched this off of Todoroki while he was distracted fighting you, the boy said proudly, Izuku's eyes watering at the sight. He hugged his teammates, praising their hard work and thanking them for putting their faith in him. As they moved off of the field, Izuku took note of the teams that had made it. Todoroki and Bakugo's team had gathered enough points easily, his own team just barely getting enough points to qualify for the final round. He spotted Shinso's team looking disoriented, shaking their heads as the purple-haired boy walked away without them. Izuku frowned. He had no business telling his friend how to use his quirk, but he was worried Shinso was making unnecessary enemies this way. After all, Aoyama and Ojiro would have readily agreed to work with him if he'd only asked. He wanted to talk to him, but a hand stopped him. Midoriya. The freckled boy turned to see Todoroki staring down at him, his expression cold. I'd like a word. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Shoto was having a bad day. He knew before the games even began that his father would be in attendance, watching him closely and expecting him to use his fire side in battle. Thanks to Midoriya, he'd become more comfortable using his fire in training, but the thought of letting his tyrannical father win made his blood curdle. So he'd kept to using his ice side only, impressively displaying it in both rounds and doing well despite his self-imposed handicap. During the cavalry battle, he'd naturally gone after the curly-haired boy, wanting to take the top spot for himself. Midoriya once again proved his cunning, using his teammates' strengths to his advantage and evading combat for most of the round. In the end, Todoroki only managed to take the headband thanks to Iida's speed and Kaminari's offense. When Midoriya retaliated, green eyes blazing and knuckle dusters poised to strike, Todoroki forgot himself for a spilt second and ignited his fire. The dual-toned boy grit his teeth. He'd broken his promise to himself and very nearly burned his friend, and the distraction of both of those things allowed Midoriya's team to take back enough points to move forward. When he finally had the greenette alone, standing face to face in a cramped, abandoned hallway, Shoto tried his best not to think about the shorter boy's big green eyes or his many freckles or how soft his lips felt every time he healed him. I want to apologize, Shoto began, eyes boring into his friend's. For a split second, I lost control and used my fire. It won't happen again. Izuku stared at him for several minutes, before speaking. Actually, I think it will. Shoto narrowed his eyes, but the boy continued. Your instincts are telling you to use all of your quirk when you need to, and fighting that instinct is only going to make things harder for you. I don't care, I can overcome it. But why should you? Izuku's voice was just barely above a whisper. The two gazed at one another, the silence stifling. Todoroki, you figured out that I was the one to heal Mr. Aizawa after the USJ attack, but I never told you what happened in the infirmary that day. The dual-toned boy's eyes widened as his friend spoke. Most everyone in 1A had figured out that Midoriya had been the one to heal Aizawa, but the teacher had forbidden them from talking about it, given the school's new policy against the healer working on the adults on campus. Shoto couldn't deny his curiosity about the incident and, despite the hard exterior he had been wearing all day, he let a little of that curiosity show in his face. When All Might and the others brought him in, he looked awful. I could sense all of his injuries and, for the first time in my life, I was terrified. Recovery Girl was doing her best to help and All Might was blaming himself and I was just standing there, frozen. When she told me Mr. Aizawa was going to die, I couldn't let him. I knew I had to try to help, even if it didn't work. I followed my instincts and used my quirk to save him, but there's not a day that goes by where I don't look at that scar left on his face and wonder what would have happened if I had acted sooner, or later, or not at all. Midoriya. I'm guessing you get your fireside from your dad, the boy continued. I don't know what's gone on between you two, but you've been cold and distant all day, and I think it's because of him. Just because you inherited his quirk, doesn't mean it belongs to him. It's your power and nothing he says or does can take it from you. Todoroki stood stock still, his fists trembling at his sides. I'm going to go get some lunch, Izuku muttered. And I hope you do too. You'll need your strength. The greenette trudged off in the direction of the cafeteria, leaving a confused, hurt and lonely boy in his wake. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Withdraw. Iida squawked. After how hard you worked to get here? Ojiro's expression was drawn, but Izuku could see the anger and disappointment in his eyes. I didn't earn my spot, I don't even remember competing in the match. The blonde shot a heated glare Shinso's way, and Izuku suddenly felt very guilty not warning his classmates about the purple-haired boy. One of Shinso's other teammates from Class 1B also withdrew, with two competitors from another team taking their place. Shinso was smirking, but Izuku knew his friend still hated himself for his quirk. It was a hard decision, but it was still a competition, and he wanted into the hero course. As the leader of the games, Midnight had the final 16 students draw lots to determine who would face off against whom in the first round of matches. Izuku smiled slightly as he pulled Aoyama's name, certain that he could beat the sparkling blonde. He looked up at the screen, noticing that Todoroki and Siro were up after him, meaning he'd most likely face off against the dual-toned boy in the following round. A short ways away, he could hear Ojiro warning Ishido about Shinso's quirk, the two hero students both stone-faced as they talked. Izuku shook his head, he had to focus. Asterisk 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 asterisk. It was time for the first match, Izuku. Facing off against Aoyama. He adjusted his knuckle dusters, before securing his goggles atop his head. He had sent in a request to get to use them in the festival, the knuckle dusters as a combat advantage and the goggles to help with his cute branding. Across from him, Aoyama smirked. My sweet Midoriya, I just want to say no hard feelings. You'll try your best but you can't possibly outshine moi. The blonde proclaimed, his belt gleaming in the sunlight. We'll see about that, the greenette thought, as Present Mike introduced them to the crowd. Alrighty sports fans. It's time for the finals to begin. Who? Can you feel the excitement? Next to the hero, Aizawa grunted, regretting his decision to co-announce the games with the loud mouth. First up, we have Yuga Aoyama. His quirk, naval laser. He can shoot a high-powered laser from his belly button. Talk about a bright student. Aoyama preened as he was announced, striking a pose for the audience. Facing off against him is Izuku Midoriya. His quirk, kisses. He can heal any wound with just a peck on the cheek. But watch out, this kiss comes with a fist. Not wanting to be outdone by Aoyama, Izuku turned to face the crowd behind him, offering them a shy smile before blowing a kiss to the stands. As he turned back around, he could see Midnight smiling at him, the two having had a long discussion that morning before the games began. It isn't just about being heroic, she had told him, it's about being lovable. You have a quirk that easily wins you admiration from others, don't shy away from it. Both boys readied their stances, Izuku pulling his goggles down over his eyes before the match began. Aoyama quickly fired off his laser, aiming it directly at his opponent. Izuku dodged it easily, adding in a somersault for flair as he moved closer to his target, making sure to avoid his weak shots. He's only using a small portion of his power, so his stomach doesn't start hurting, Izuku deduced, calculating his opponent's moves. I can try goading him into using more power, then attacking him once he's weakened. Or I can go for the direct approach and hope I'm fast enough to dodge his attacks. He spared a glance over to Midnight. The woman had been the most helpful in his extra training, for while All Might and Aizawa could offer plenty of combat advice, Midnight could offer something just as important. Remember that as much as you are a hero, you are a public figure, she told him. You have to be able to not only do your job, but make it look as effortless and eye-catching as possible. During the sports festival, you'll need to be just as visually appealing as you are powerful, to make the biggest impact on the crowd. Izuku heeded those words, choosing the more exciting of his two strategies. He rushed forward, throwing a kick towards Aoyama who blocked it immediately. The blonde began charging his laser, and Izuku slammed him with a kick from his other foot, landing softly before cartwheeling away. He gave a smile and a giggle to the camera, kissing his knuckles and bumping them together as he prepared to strike again. Aoyama, having recovered from the hit, fired off his laser at full power, the blast taking up most of the ring and creating a blinding light in the arena. Izuku got up from his spot on the ground where he had taken cover, to see Aoyama on his knees, clutching his stomach. He gave another small giggle, moving quickly over to his opponent. He held the blonde's face in his hand, tilting his jaw upwards so the greenette could lean down and place a soft kiss on his forehead. Aoyama collapsed, and the crowd erupted in cheers. And the winner of the first match is Izuku Midoriya. What a mesmerizing display from both students. Eraserhead, tell the crowd what you thought of the fight. Aizawa rolled his eyes, but leaned forward anyways. Midoriya relied on his agility and cunning to devise the best strategy to win, mixing his combat moves with gymnastics to make the fight more entertaining. Not the most practical approach, but it was effective nonetheless. There you have it, folks, a totally boring answer from a totally boring hero. Aizawa sighed. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Izuku and the others stared open-mouthed as Todoroki froze half of the stadium, the ice spreading past the arena and the stands to pierce the sky. Geez, I know he wants to win, but isn't this overkill? Uraraka muttered. Poor Siro never stood a chance, Kirishima tooted, shaking his head. The matches came to an abrupt stop to give the coordinators a chance to remove the ice, and Izuku used the opportunity to approach Midnight. You've been doing well so far, Midoriya, she complimented him. But your fight is far from over. He nodded. I've been thinking a lot about what you taught me, about embracing this cutesy brand and giving more of a performance, which is why I wanted to run an idea by you. You're in charge of the games, so you'll know best whether or not to allow it. As he told her his plan, Midnight's cheeks pinked as she grinned at him. Oh precious Midoriya, I've never been prouder. Asterisk 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 asterisk. As soon as Iida stepped into the ring to face off against Hatsume, wearing some of the girl's inventions, Izuku knew exactly what his friend had planned. He couldn't help but laugh as the girl flitted about the ring, advertising her many inventions as Iida flailed around her, desperate to regain his composure. The rest of the crowd was gobsmacked as the girl shamelessly sponsored her creations, her smile blinding. Next to him, Yaoyorozu was gripping Izuku's arm tightly to avoid bursting into laughter as well, her lips twitching from the effort. Uraraka looked concerned and, down on the field, Midnight looked close to collapsing from how hard she was laughing. Once Hatsume had finished her presentation, she graciously stepped out of the ring, leaving a bewildered Iida the winner by default. Asterisk 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 asterisk. When it came time for Yaoyorozu and Tokoyami's match, Izuku wasn't sure who to root for. Tokoyami had been on his team and got them enough points in the second round to advance, but Yaoyorozu was a part of the study buddies and had become one of his closest friends. In the end, Yaoyorozu was able to claim victory as she created a spotlight from her body, further weakening Dark Shadow and giving her the advantage she needed to beat Tokoyami. Of course, Yaoyorozu must have noticed how Kaminari's lighting weakened Dark Shadow in the second round, Izuku muttered, scribbling furiously in his notebook. She was probably charging her quirk before the match even began, so she'd be able to pull out her creation right away. Tokoyami accepted his defeat gracefully, the two opponents walking out of the arena as friends. When Shinso came out to fight Ishido, Izuku tensed. Ishido was a strong opponent, both in terms of her quirk and her physical strength. She was just as determined as the rest of the class to do her very best, and Shinso was months behind her in combat experience. If she already knows what his quirk is, it'll be difficult for Shinso to beat her using it, unless he's able to distract her long enough to activate it. The purple-haired boy was wearing gauntlets designed by Hatsume, as well as a strange mask over his mouth, the silver gear gleaming in the sunlight. The match began, and Ishido immediately began firing off acid. Shinso dodged it, keeping out of range of the girl who was now skating around the ring, her acid leaving a trail burned into the ground. "Ishido, what on earth are you doing?" Midnight's voice filled the air. "What do you dash?" Ishido was frozen as Shinso's quirk took hold, the boy smirking behind his mask. "Incredible!" General Studies student Hitoshi Shinso disguised his voice as Midnight's, tricking Ishido into answering him and falling under his spell. Present Mike cried out, the crowd cheering as the pink-skinned girl stood frozen in the ring. "Exit the ring, slowly," Shinso commanded, the girl turning heel and leaving immediately. As he was announced the winner, Shinso looked to the stands, his gaze locking with Izuku's. The matches were becoming more and more intense as every student displayed an overwhelming desire to get to the top, none of whom had any qualms about clawing their way up there. Izuku placed a soft kiss to Uraraka's temple, trying to console the upset girl as she healed. "You did amazing out there, Uraraka. Everyone was really rooting for you." The brunette smiled weakly at him. "I appreciate the healing and the pep talk, but I think I need some time to process this." The brunette nodded. "I understand. Hope to see you back out there." He turned to exit the infirmary, leaving his friend in recovery girl's care. She had faced off against Katsuki, a grisly match that had required her to push herself beyond her limits. She may have lost the match, but Izuku could tell that Uraraka had earned the hothead's respect, a difficult thing to do. Just like Yaoyorozu's match, Izuku had been torn over which friend to root for. He knew it was unlikely that Uraraka would be able to defeat Katsuki, but he couldn't help cheering her on when the clever girl used Katsuki's explosions to create enough rubble to use her zero-gravity quirk, raining large chunks of debris onto him. In the end the winner was clear, though if he were to hazard a guess, Izuku would say the crowd favored the bubbly girl over the hothead, which gave him all the more reason to lean into his own sweet persona. As he made his way to the waiting room to prepare for his next match, he ran into the blonde. "Oh, hey Kachin. Congratulations on winning your match." The other boy grunted, his expression grumpy as always. "Tell me something, Deku, did you come up with that desperate strategy Pink Cheeks used?" Assuming he meant Uraraka, Izuku shook his head. "No, she told me she didn't want my help. She came up with that strategy all on her own." He looked at his friend, noticing the tension in his shoulders. "If that match was harder than you thought it would be, it's because Uraraka is serious about becoming a hero." Katsuki merely grunted again, before shifting uncomfortably. I got injured," he muttered, holding up his arm to show the greenette a gash in the appendage. Izuku cocked his head. "Oh yeah, better go see recovery girl about that." The freckled boy giggled as the hothead spluttered, irritation clear on his face. "Oh, calm down, I'm only teasing." He reached up to give the blonde a quick peck on the cheek, the wound knitting itself closed. Katsuki's face was impassive, but there was a hint of a blush on his cheeks. "Thanks, good luck with your match." Izuku just smiled, before turning heel and making for the waiting room, the sounds of Kirishima's victory out on the field filling the stands above him. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Izuku made his way to the entrance of the arena, ready for his match against Todoroki. He had devised a strategy to help him even the playing field, but he wasn't entirely sure it was enough to win. Lost in his thoughts, he nearly ran right into Endeavor, the number 2 hero, as the man rounded the corner. "Oh, I'm so sore, Endeavor?" The man looked down at the boy, his expression not unlike the one his son had worn all day. Just who I was looking for." The two were silent as the hero assessed Izuku, his blue eyes burning into the boy. "I must say, you have an impressive quirk. It's rare to meet someone who can heal others, and rarer still to be able to use that skill offensively. I highly doubt you'll be much of a match against Shoto, but don't hold anything back either. This will be a good test to see how much more training he'll need. My son's duty is to surpass All Might as the number 1 hero, his one true purpose in life. If he's going to do that, he needs to beat every opponent he faces." Izuku had to bite the inside of his cheek to keep from snapping at the hero. It churned his stomach to hear a father speak about his son as if he were merely an extension of himself. He was beginning to see why Todoroki had been on edge all day. "I would never hold back, not in a competition like this, but please don't think for a moment I do so for your sake, sir. Shoto is my friend, and I want to help him overcome whatever demons you gave him, but it'll have to wait until after I beat him." He spared the man one last glare, before continuing to the arena, his stomach in knots. Todoroki was already standing in the ring when he arrived, the two waiting impatiently for the match to begin. His ice power can cover a lot of ground quickly. If I don't want to end up like Zero, I'll have to try to weaken him before he has a chance to create too much of it. Izuku gazed at his opponent, his mind whirring. "I have the move Midnight and I worked on in training. It's far from perfect, but it just might give me the opening I need." The two listened as Present Mike introduced them once more, Izuku giving a wiggle of his fingers to the crowd, smiling brightly. In comparison, Todoroki looked like a gargoyle, cold and imposing. The two readied their stances and the match began. As expected, Todoroki opened with a burst of ice, the attack surging forward as Izuku dodged, tucking and rolling to the left. Todoroki locked eyes with him, and he pulled out his new move. "Hey, Todoroki! Catch!" The greenette placed a big kiss on his fingers, holding his palm up and out as he blew the kiss to his enemy. Pink mist tumbled out of Izuku's mouth, curling upwards and billowing out like dragon smoke. The dual-toned boy's eyes widened as the mist enveloped the ring, his body beginning to feel heavy. "What's this?" "Izuku Midoriya has pulled out a move we've never seen before. But what does it do? How will Todoroki react?" Izuku smirked as his eyes flickered to Midnight, the inspiration for the move. The healer had hypothesized that because his quirk was activated by his lips, anything that came into contact with them could potentially cause a reaction, even the air he breathed. The idea came from Midnight's somnambulist ability, which allowed her to create a pheromone from her body that knocked out her opponents. It took days to get even a small puff of mist to appear, and he had to keep focused on it to keep it from dissipating altogether. His head pounded as he concentrated on the mist and its desired effect, and it was much weaker than direct contact would be, but it was working. Todoroki grit his teeth, sending another albeit weaker ice attack the freckled boy's way. Izuku dodged this one much easier. Missed me, now you gotta kiss me," he teased, rushing closer to his target. The mist cleared slightly as Izuku dodged another attack, his concentration splintering. "I won't be able to hold this for long, I have to act now." He finally reached Todoroki, throwing a few punches the taller boy's way. Todoroki countered with more ice. The attack hit its mark, but the effort was causing Todoroki's right side to freeze over. He hit Izuku with a forceful punch, sending the boy sailing through the air. Catching himself mid-air, Izuku performed a tuck as he landed on his feet, smiling triumphantly as the audience cheered. It was a neat trick, but it came at the cost of his concentration breaking, the mist now completely dissipated. It looks like Midoriya's super move wasn't enough. What will he do now? "Todoroki, you have to regulate your body temperature. You'll hurt yourself if you don't." Izuku called from the other side of the field. "Humph, did my old man put you up to this? Did he bribe you to get me to do what he wants?" Todoroki's eyes were burning, his expression so much like Endeavor's it startled the greenette. Screw that guy. It's not his quirk, it's yours. Izuku was done helping. He'd said his piece, now he had to win. He rushed forward once again, mist steaming from his mouth as he prepared to blow another kiss. He launched himself forward as a torrent of ice and fire slammed into him at once, sending him hurtling out of the ring and into one of the arena walls as the elemental onslaught tore through the space. The audience fell into a hush as the green-eyed boy's body slid down the wall, before hitting the ground with a thump. Todoroki won the match. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Shoto stared in shock as his friend's limp body hit the ground, his feet moving before he had time to think. He raced over to Izuku, gently picking him up off the ground. Midoriya, Iida. His words died on his tongue, eyes widening in disbelief. The audience gasped as the Greenette's injuries began healing themselves, burns fading and cuts knitting back together as green eyes fluttered open. But how dash? Izuku chuckled weakly, his strength slowly returning as his body healed. Everyone in class knew I could heal other people, but none of you bothered to ask if I could heal myself. With Todoroki's help, Izuku stood up straight, a beaming smile on his face. The crowd erupted once more. In the commentator's box, Present Mike was having a field day. Would you look at that? Midoriya has completely healed all of his wounds and what's this? A kiss on the cheek for his opponent? I'm calling it. Izuku Midoriya is the official UA sweetheart. That's not a real title, and you can't just arbitrarily give it to your favorite contestant, Aizawa drawled. As the two students left the arena, All Might stared at them from the teacher's seats, a thoughtful look in his eye. A quirk that lets the body heal itself. Maybe young Midoriya is the one I'm looking for. Asterisk 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 asterisk. As the event coordinators worked once again to clear the field of the damage Todoroki inflicted, Izuku joined his classmates in the stands. Aizu! Hatsume screeched, throwing her arms around her friend. Holy crap, that was scary. Don't you ever stop to think? You could have been seriously hurt back there. It's nice to see you too, Mei, the boy said wearily, sitting down with the juice box he got from Recovery Girl. That move you pulled out at the beginning of the match was seriously cool. Ashido told him, earning a grin from the boy. Thanks. Huh, and you said my quirk couldn't be flashy, Mei, he teased, the pink-haired inventor sticking her tongue out at him. Are you all right, Midoriya? Tokoyami asked, he, Uraraka and Ojiro looking concerned. I'm totally fine. Healing myself tends to take a lot out of me, so I'm gonna rest up here while I wait for the rest of the matches to start up. You say that like you're going back down there, Azui commented, watching as the curly-haired boy fiddled with the straw of his juice box. I talked it over with Miss Midnight earlier and, well, someone has to heal the remaining contestants, he muttered, thanking Jairu as she deftly stabbed the straw into the box, handing it back to him. You're crazy, Uraraka said, staring at her friend. Is he? Hatsume asked slyly, catching on to what the boy was planning. Or is he simply assuring that the audience gets to see him use his quirk a whole bunch, while everyone else fights for first place? Izuku's grin became sharp. Exactly. Asterisk 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 asterisk. When it was time for the matches to start once again, Izuku did indeed take a spot next to Midnight, sitting on the edge of the small stage with his ankles crossed delicately in front of him. Midnight thought to herself, smiling. He's gonna be a handful when he goes pro. The next few matches were simple, Yaoyorozu beating Shizuki from 1B and Shinso beating Kirishima. The real fight came from Bakugo and Iida, the two boys battling fiercely for a spot in the next round. Eventually, the hothead released a barrage of explosions, a new signature move of his, sending the class rep careening out of the ring, winning him the match. Izuku hopped down from his seat, making a big show of tenderly kissing Iida's cheek, the audience cooing at the display. He also made sure to stand on his tippy toes when kissing Katsuki, the blonde muttering, "You stupid faker," as he did. When it came down to the final four, Yaoyorozu was bested by Todoroki, and Shinso losing to Katsuki, both losers overwhelmed by the sheer power the winners held, even after so many matches. Izuku felt bad for his purple-haired friend, until he realized that both he and Yaoyorozu were tied for third. He placed. Nizu is sure to let him transfer now, the freckled boy thought happily as he healed the group. It was down to the final two, Todoroki versus Bakugo, the crowd tittering with anticipation. Before we begin, anything you two wish to say? Midnight prompted them. Todoroki remained silent, while Katsuki simply said, I'm gonna win, like he had at the start of the games. And any words of encouragement from our young healer? Midnight turned to Izuku, putting the boy on the spot. Izuku gulped, before giving the audience a sweet smile. I just want to say, do your best and go plus ultra. The crowd cheered in response, Midnight chuckling. You've got him eating out of the palm of your hand, she muttered, before turning back to the match. Alright, let final battle begin. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The stadium shook as Katsuki's signature howitzer impact collided with a burst of fire from Todoroki, the explosion causing the audience to panic. The hero Cementos used his quirk to create a barrier, shielding the spectators from harm, as well as himself, Midnight and Izuku down in the arena. When the dust and smoke finally cleared, and Cementos could lower his barrier, Katsuki stood over Todoroki's still form, breathing heavily. Todoroki is unable to battle, Bakugo wins. Midnight announced, brandishing her whip. The audience cheered as the blonde's face appeared on the screen, red eyes blazing. The awards ceremony took place as soon as the rubble from the last match was cleared, Izuku standing with Uraraka and the others as All Might awarded the sports festival medals. The greenette smiled widely as Shinso was given his medal next to Yaoyorozu, the normally moody boy sporting a small, genuine smile. Izuku winced as Uraraka scoffed next to him, muttering about unfair quirks. He also spotted Ojiro, Aoyama and several others glaring at the purple-haired boy, and he grimaced. It's gonna take Shinso an awful lot of work to make it up to everyone after how he behaved, he thought, concerned about his classmates' reactions if Shinso did transfer into 1A. Yaoyorozu looked a little flustered at the attention, but accepted her medal graciously, a smile on her face as the crowd cheered for her. Next, Todoroki allowed All Might to place the silver medal around his neck, the two speaking quietly. Izuku couldn't make out what they were saying, but it almost seemed like Todoroki was glancing at him throughout the conversation. Finally, All Might awarded Bakugo with the gold medal, the hot head smirking at the number one hero. There was applause from the crowd, but it didn't seem nearly as strong as it was for Todoroki or Yaoyorozu. And with that, the sports festival ended. Izuku made his way off the field with his friends, frowning to himself. After the last match, Uraraka told him that Iida had to leave early due to an emergency with his older brother, the hero Ingenium. It had to have been serious for his family to call him away from the event, and the freckled boy could only pray that things turned out okay for the Iida family. Asterisk 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 asterisk. As he exited the stadium, on his way to meet with his students in the 1A classroom, Aizawa heard some of the business course students discussing the finals. That Bakugo sure is powerful, but he's got a real attitude problem. A short boy with glasses stated. Next to him, a girl with pink scales on her face nodded. Shinso from General Studies has much of the same problem. Come to think of it, Todoroki wasn't that endearing either. Well, what did you expect? The third member of their group, a tall boy with dark hair and a crooked nose, spoke up. How could any of them compare when Midoriya stole the show with kisses? He was really cute, the girl conceded. And he got the crowd excited every time he stepped onto the field, not an easy feat. Those flips were really something else. And the way he dodged most of those ice attacks took serious skill. He's gonna get a lot of interest from the big hero agencies, just watch. Oh, should we run the numbers? Aizawa smiled to himself as he continued on his path. He had been similarly impressed with the way his student managed to keep the focus on himself throughout the games, even after he was defeated by Todoroki. Most of 1A had some fame and notoriety swirling around them from the USJ incident, but Midoriya, who hadn't been in the class at the time, managed to make a name for himself regardless by using his quirk to positively affect his reputation at the school. Aizawa may have thought present Mike a fool for calling the greenette Yue's sweetheart, but he wouldn't be surprised if there were others who shared that sentiment. Asterisk 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 asterisk. 2 whole days off. Kaminari cheered, pumping his fist in the air as Aizawa dismissed them. We gotta do something fun to celebrate. Ooh, how about we do a sleepover tonight? Ishido suggested, the idea piquing the class interest. We live in a dorm, every night is a sleepover, Jiru said flatly. No, dummy. I meant a sleepover. We all spend the night in the common room and watch movies and eat junk food and play games. We can even put down pillows and blankets and sleep on the floor. That sounds like a lot of fun. Hagakure exclaimed, Aoyama agreeing with her. Pass. Katsuki grunted, walking ahead of the others. Despite the hothead's usual lack of enthusiasm, the rest of 1A prepared for their sleepover with excitement. Snacks were made as games and movies were brought out, pillows and blankets and stuffed animals littered about the common room floor. Izuku texted Hatsume, extending an invitation to the girl which she readily accepted. When the class reconvened in the common room, dressed in pajamas and ready to begin, Izuku was grateful to have had a baggy sweater and shorts to wear, not wanting to wear his usual all-might pajamas in front of the others. They started the evening with board games, Kaminari winning a 3-game hot streak of poker, and Todoroki dominating a game of Monopoly. Ishido put on some music and taught the others her favorite dance moves, the group laughing as Izuku stumbled about like a newborn foal. How is it you can do all those fancy flips and twirls, but can't learn a few dance steps? Hatsume teased, her hips moving effortlessly with the beat. "'S not the same," the freckled boy pouted, his body jerking awkwardly to the music. The boys made a hasty retreat to play video games when Ishido pulled out the face masks, the girl grinning. "Come on guys. Skin care is super important." She turned to the other girls, who had managed to keep Izuku in place with Aoyama's help. "Izu," she teased, dangling a strawberry-scented mask in front of the boy. "I don't mind," he said with a shrug, "but won't it get in my hair?" Hatsume's grin turned sharp as the other girls giggled. "Don't worry, we've got just the thing." The boys stared slack-jawed as the girls, Izuku and Aoyama joined them, all wearing mud masks of varying colors. Izuku's mask was a light pink, matching the several barrettes used to keep his hair out of his face. Kirishima let out a squeak he would later deny at the sight. "Why, you guys look great. And we won't have to worry about wrinkles, unlike the rest of you," Aoyama said loftily, his baby blue mask cracking as he smiled at them. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The group played and danced and laughed for most of the evening, with Katsuki begrudgingly making dinner for everyone. "I told you losers, I'm not interested in your dumb sleepover," Katsuki growled as Kirishima and Ishido tried once again to get him to join in. "But Kachin," Izuku pouted, his eyes big and shining. "We were gonna watch the All Might movie next, and it's your favorite." Katsuki looked to be in physical pain as he fought with himself, taking in the sweater and the barrettes and the boy's flushed cheeks from removing his mask. He caved. "Fine. Move over, nerd." Kirishima, Ishido and Kaminari cheered silently as the blonde plopped down next to Izuku with a huff, arms crossed petulantly. He began to relax as the movie played, letting Izuku rest his head on his shoulder. After the All Might movie came an old romance film that Uraraka picked, and the lights were turned off as everyone began to settle into their spots on the floor. Katsuki hadn't moved a muscle as Izuku dozed lightly on his shoulder, the greenette looking sleepy and peaceful. The moment was ruined, however, as Aizawa loudly entered the dorm, flicking on the lights as the 1A students groaned. Izuku looked up sleepily as the teacher moved forward, Principal Nizu right behind him. "Midoriya, we'd like a word." Izuku sat up at once, now fully awake. He climbed over the couch and followed the adults outside, their grim expressions worrying him. "By now, I'm sure your friend Iida has told you his brother Ingenium is in the hospital," Aizawa prompted, Izuku nodding in confirmation. "Unfortunately, his condition is worsening. By the hour, the doctors may not be able to save him." That's awful. Poor Iida," Izuku gasped, hands clenched at his sides. Naturally, we want to do everything in our power to help young Tensei, Nizu added, beady eyes trained on the healer. Which is why I've acquired an allowance from the Hero Commission for you to use your quirk outside of UA to help him, just this once. That is, if you're interested. I'll get my shoes, Izuku responded, already heading back inside. As he pulled on his shoes, Katsuki came up to him. I don't have time to talk, the Greenette told him. Iida's brother is in trouble and he needs me. I'll tell you everything when I get back. Deku, listen, Katsuki looked like he wanted to say something, his messy hair and concerned expression making him look so much softer than his usual scowling visage. He shook his head. Just don't do anything stupid, alright? Izuku hugged his friend, the taller boy squeezing him tightly. I'll be okay, Kachin, I promise. Izuku joined the adults back outside, the three rushing to the car Nizu had called. As the driver made for Hosu General Hospital, Izuku could only hope they got there in time. Asterisk 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 asterisk. When they arrived at the hospital, Nizu gave the receptionist all of the paperwork he'd received from the Hero Commission detailing the nature of their visit. The woman gave them the room number and promised to inform the doctor of their arrival. Izuku felt his stomach drop as the elevator reached the third floor, the doors opening to reveal sterile white hallways that carried the faint smell of chemicals. Due to his quirk, Izuku and his family hadn't had much of a need for hospitals, except for the occasional checkup. Walking down the hall to Ingenium's room made the Greenette feel like a kid again, on his way to find out what his quirk was. When they opened the door to Ingenium's room, Izuku's heart broke at the sight of Iida's tear-stricken face. Mr. Aizawa, Midoriya, what are you doing here? The taller boy asked, roughly wiping away the evidence of his emotional state. Izuku supposed they looked almost comical walking in. A strange creature in a suit, a rumpled-looking man, and a teenager in pajamas, all there to help. We've received a special allowance from the Hero Commission, permitting Midoriya to use his quirk to help heal Ingenium, Nizu said calmly, while Iida's mother eyed the newcomers warily. But how? The doctors haven't even been able to do much, and why not bring Recovery Girl? Why bring a child? Izuku thought. She wanted to ask why they brought a child to save a dying man. Mrs. Iida, I'm going to do everything in my power to save your son, as long as you're okay with it. The woman looked to her younger son who, after recovering from the initial shock, nodded his head fervently. Please, let him help, mother. All right, she finally said, nodding. Izuku gave her a small smile, before crossing the room to the patient. Just like with Aizawa, the sheer number and severity of Ingenium's injuries overwhelmed the healer, his head dizzy from all he was sensing. He was dying, just like Aizawa had been, but the injuries Ingenium had went far beyond anything Izuku could have imagined. It's a death by 1,000 cuts, almost every inch of his body has been damaged. Whoever did this to him must really hate him, or heroes in general. Such malice. It's beyond cruel, it's inhuman. Izuku moved closer to the man, his head covered in bandages and a large gauze pad on his stomach. They've already operated on him, but they didn't remove any organs, which is good. I don't think my quirk would be able to regrow anything like that. His arm engines are in rough shape, but I don't know if I can actually save them. They're a part of him biologically, but they're not organic material. Izuku shook his head, he needed to focus. He leaned forward, putting as much power into his quirk as possible as his lips met the hero's cheek. Iida's mother let out a cry as the sounds of bones snapping and organs shifting filled the room, a wretched cacophony of squelches and cracks. Izuku began muttering softly to Ingenium, telling him about the sports festival and how well Iida did in the games. The man's body still looked rough, so as the healing slowed down, Izuku gave him another kiss, then another, feeling faint as Ingenium's body regenerated as fast as possible. There were far more prominent scars on him than the single one Aizawa had, and Izuku's stomach churned at the thought of what would have happened had he not been allowed to come. After a few tense minutes, Ingenium's breathing and heart rate evened out, a peaceful look on his face as Izuku's sedative took hold. The Greenette collapsed into a nearby chair, exhausted. Iida rushed over to him. Are you all right? Izuku nodded weakly. I'm fine, just really tired. I was worn out from the sports festival, and this was a bit beyond my limit, but I'll be fine. He looked over to Ingenium's sleeping form. I can't speak for his arm engines, but the rest of his body should be fully healed. The doctor will have to check, of course, but I think he's going to live. Iida's mother burst into tears, Iida nearly doing so himself. Midoriya, Izuku, UI-. The healer merely opened his arms and the class rep surged forward, hugging his friend tightly as he sobbed into his shoulder. In the corner, Aizawa looked on in amazement. It was one thing to know what Midoriya was capable of, but to see it with his own eyes was another matter entirely. It's just as miraculous as the first time, Nizu said warmly, smiling at the relieved faces he saw. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The doctor confirmed that Ingenium's wounds were fully healed, apart from the damage done to his engines, and assured both the family and visitors that he'd make a full recovery. That's an astounding quirk you have there, the man praised Izuku. You should consider becoming a doctor. The freckled boy just smiled, having heard that same sentence many times before. Aizawa and Nizu led Izuku from the room, after receiving plenty of thanks from the Iida family. Izuku kept strong until they reached the car, where the boy practically collapsed into his seat. I'm fine, he assured his worried teacher as Aizawa got in next to him. I just need to rest. Aizawa merely nodded, draping his jacket over the boy as he fell asleep. The drive back to campus was silent, only the sounds of the road and Izuku's soft breathing could be heard. The teacher looked down at his student, who had at some point slumped over into the middle seat, his seatbelt pulling on him in a way that looked uncomfortable. We're finally beginning to see the limits of his quirk, the man thought. Despite being physically fine, using his powers so much and so often today sapped all of his energy, we'll have to build up his endurance once we start training again. When they arrived at the dorms, Aizawa scooped the sleeping boy up, carrying him to the door. Izuku stirred as his teacher fumbled with the doorknob. Sakai, I can get it? Aizawa gingerly placed the boy onto the ground, getting a sleepy smile that nearly melted his heart. Thanks for everything, Mr. Aizawa. Don't mention it, kid. When the healer opened the door, letting himself and Aizawa inside, the teacher was unsurprised to see Katsuki waiting up for the healer, his expression turning steely as he took in his friend's exhaustion. What the hell happened? The blonde whispered harshly, not wanting to wake the others who were sleeping sprawled out in the common room. He's fine, Aizawa assured him. He just needs to rest. Katsuki merely grunted, leading Izuku over to an unoccupied spot on the floor, covered in blankets and pillows. Aizawa watched as the two settled in, taking note of his other students cuddled up on the floor as well. This is becoming much more than a class, or a team, the man thought as he quietly exited the dorm. It's becoming a family. Izuku smiled down at his phone, laughing at the text Mei sent him as the train made its way to the UA station. After being forbidden from training by both Aizawa and Katsuki, Izuku decided to visit his parents during his 2 days off, the couple happy to have their son home. They had seen the sports festival on TV, but hearing about all of his adventures in the infirmary and in Class 1A was enough to make both his parents cry, which in turn made Izuku cry, until the whole family was sobbing together on the couch. Maybe Kachin was right, Izuku thought to himself, we really are a family of crybabies. The train was fairly crowded, so it took a few tries for the man behind Izuku to get his attention. Hey, aren't you Izuku Midoriya? From the sports festival? At once, everyone in the train car was staring at him, the people closest congratulating him and grabbing at his shoulders. It had happened a lot in the past 2 days. Everywhere he went, people recognized him and wanted his attention. Some wanted his autograph, others wanted to talk about UA. One man had even asked if he'd blow him a kiss, just like the one from his match with Todoroki, and Izuku's father had threatened the man until he went away. Izuku tried his best to appease the small crowd, thankful when his stop came. He exited the train, frowning as he felt a few raindrops hit his cheeks. He pulled out his umbrella, trudging up the steep slope from the station to UA's gates. Midoriya. The boy turned to see Iida, wearing a lime green raincoat, speeding towards him. He slowed down as he reached his friend, smiling. Izuku realized the raincoat was even uglier up close. Oh hey Iida. How are you? How's Ingenium? The greenette let the taller boy take the umbrella, holding it up to cover the both of them as they walked. My brother is doing well, he'll be discharged from the hospital in a few days, but he's been suspended from hero work until he's able to fix his engines. Izuku nodded, he'd expected as much. How are you handling all of this? Iida looked to him, the two making their way into the building. I'm adjusting. Tensei has been keeping his spirits up, which is wonderful, but... He came to a full stop, Izuku turning to face him. I keep thinking about what would have happened, if you hadn't come, I would have very likely lost my brother. Gray eyes met green as Iida took his friend's hands into his own. Midoriya, Izuku, I'll never be able to repay you for saving him. Izuku's heart went out to the taller boy, who had suffered so much in the past few days. Iida, just knowing Ingenium will live to see another day is payment enough for me. I know. We truly don't deserve you. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Class 1, as homeroom was livelier than usual as the two walked in, everyone excited over the attention they were receiving. Dude, it's like our class is famous now, Kaminari exclaimed, grinning at Kirishima. I know. We totally rocked the sports fest, almost our whole class made it to the finals. The redhead gloated, puffing out his chest. Hey Midoriya, Jiru said slyly, holding out her phone. You should see this. Izuku borrowed the girl's phone, sitting down in the chair Iida had pulled out for him. It was an article from a local newspaper, one that the greenette knew covered the sports festival every year. His eyes widened at the heading. Sports fest dominated by explosions, but one with kisses. Yue's sweetheart and his super smooches. Oh wow, he muttered, scanning the article. Isn't this a bit excessive? Jiru snorted. That's not the only story. Half of the press coming out about the sports fest is talking about you. You sure made one hell of an impression. Well, that was sort of the point, I guess, the healer said sheepishly, his cheeks pink. That was indeed the point, Midoriya, Aizawa drawled, the students scrambling to their seats as the teacher entered. In fact, just about every single one of you made some kind of impression, especially in regards to the hero draft picks. As the teacher displayed the number of offers each student received, the healer was taken aback at his. Izuku, look, you got the most, after Todoroki, Yaoyorozu exclaimed, after eyeing her own offers. See? All that smooching paid off, Ashido teased, the greenette blushing once again. It's crazy, the freckled boy thought to himself. I did all that extra stuff to get noticed in the sports festival, but I still didn't think that many agencies would want someone with such a passive quirk. Now that the pros are beginning to take you seriously, you need to come up with your hero names. It's not really my area of expertise, so Miss Midnight will be helping you with them. As if on cue, Midnight appeared in the doorway, brandishing her whip. I can't believe the school lets her walk around with that, Jiru muttered to Ashido, who giggled. Fashioning their hero names proved to be simple for most of Class 1A, though students like Katsuki and Iida seemed to struggle. When it was his turn, Izuku moved to the front with his marker board, eyeing his classmates apprehensively. Well, since my quirk revolves around kisses, I decided to come up with a name that relates to that. Is it smooches? Uraraka guessed. First base. Make out. Hot lips. Midnight teased, Izuku turning redder and redder with each suggestion. No, nothing like that. He took a deep breath. I'm the kissing hero, pucker up, since I have to pucker up to use my quirk. It's cute, punchy, I like it. Midnight decided, the freckled boy hurrying back to his seat. In the end, Iida chose to use his first name, and Katsuki was left undecided. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Is it all right if I sit here? Izuku looked up to see Shinso standing next to their lunch table, tray in hand. His question wasn't addressed to his friend, but to the other 1A students. Izuku turned to see Uraraka and Ashido giving the purple-haired boy dirty looks. Kirishima looked uncomfortable, and Iida looked conflicted. Yaoyorozu just smiled, having gotten to know the boy through Hatsume. Of course. Shinso thanked her, taking the seat across from Izuku. Next to the greenette, Iida nodded. Congratulations on ranking third in the sports festival. Both you and Yaoyorozu fought admirably. I wouldn't exactly call what he did admirable, Uraraka muttered, Izuku elbowing her. Kacchan blew up the stadium twice, Todoroki nearly made Siro hypothermic, and I shamelessly stole focus. Every one of us fought tooth and nail to try to win, and Shinso is no exception. Uraraka, thoroughly chided, muttered an apology, the others nodding along. Shinso stared at her, before shrugging. It's fine, we're all good. After that, lunch became far more relaxed, Shinso's usual snarky comments and witty banter endearing him to the 1A students. Hey, how come you haven't transferred yet? Izuku asked as the two made for Hatsume's lab that afternoon. I figured you'd be the first one in class today. Shinso looked to him. Since you're all doing internships next week, Principal Niza decided to have me transfer the week after. Apparently, he doesn't think I'm ready for that yet. Izuku made to apologize, but his friend stopped him. It's cool, Aizawa is gonna start training me right away, so I guess technically that'll be my internship. The two entered the support lab, unsurprised to see their pink-haired friend tinkering away at some new invention. Shinso turned to the greenette. So, have you decided on an agency to intern with? Izuku shrugged. Not yet. To be honest, I don't even know if it's all that necessary for me to do one, since I had an internship with Recovery Girl already this semester. You'll want to get in as much experience as possible, Aizu, Hatsume reminded him, grunting as she hammered away at her latest baby. Especially since you've got so much hype around you from the sports fest. True, but I'm also worried about whether or not Nizu will even let me do one. He's really concerned about me using my quirk on adults. Hatsume looked to him. Yeah, it might look weird for an agency to have a teenager handing out kisses. Shinso shook his head. I don't think it's just that. Remember, a lot of people watch the festival, so the likelihood of random strangers stopping you to try and get a kiss is much higher now. Izuku paled slightly, remembering the man who wanted him to blow him a kiss. Hatsume giggled, her expression devious. Haven't you heard what people are calling you now? Yes, and I'm still mad at Present Mike for starting it, Izuku huffed, cheeks pinking. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In the end, Nizu offered the greenette a compromise. Naturally, it's in the best interests of both yourself and the school if you were to do this next internship with Recovery Girl again, the principal began, pouring the student a cup of tea. However, considering there won't be any new learning experiences for you here, coupled with the lack of hero students on campus, I've decided to allow you to visit the nearby agencies, with Recovery Girl supervising. Izuku looked at the principal in shock. So, I'll get to use my quirk? And work at an agency? Precisely. At first, I had you figured as a rescue hero, given the nature of your quirk, but after seeing your impressive combat abilities in the sports festival, I think it prudent to allow you time at different types of agencies to better understand how they work. You'll be limited in your time with them, so make sure to learn as much as you can while you're there. He gave the healer a form to fill out, listing the hero agencies he'd be able to pick from. The boy thanked the creature before heading back to the dorms. Asterisk 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 asterisk. A week later, Izuku stood with his classmates, clutching his costume case to his chest. They were at the train station, waiting for Aizawa to dismiss them to start their internships. I heard Recovery Girl is taking you to a different agency every day this week, Yaoyorozu said, leaning over to the greenette. We're going to Sir Naitai's agency first, then tomorrow I think we're tagging along with Uraraka to Gunhead's agency. Man, I wish my quirk let me kiss up on a bunch of hot heroes, Ashido complained, the others looking at her incredulously as Izuku turned red. It's not like that, he muttered. Next to him, Uraraka was doubled over laughing. All right, settle down, Aizawa said as he approached, the diminutive Recovery Girl beside him. You all need to be on your best behavior this week. Remember, you're not just representing yourselves as heroes, but the whole school as well. Don't use your quirks unless specifically instructed to by your supervisor. And with that, the man dismissed them, Recovery Girl tugging on Izuku's sleeve. Hurry now, or we'll miss our train. Out of the corner of his eye, Izuku saw Iida walking towards his platform, his shoulders tense. "I'll be right there, I just need a minute." The greenette hurried over to his friend, Uraraka joining them. "Hey, Iida, I heard your internship is in Hosu, and well, I just want to make sure you're okay." At that point it was no secret what had happened to Ingenium, the news outlets picking up the story of the hero killer Stain's latest victim and running with it. Izuku was just thankful his own involvement hadn't been discovered. Izuku knew his friend to be smart, practical and a stickler for the rules, but he also knew how much he worshipped his older brother and how protective he was of those he cared about. The taller boy took in his friend's expressions, giving them a forced smile. "Don't worry, everything is perfectly fine." The two rushed him, hugging him tightly as they exchanged goodbyes. Izuku hurried back to Recovery Girl, the hero already tottering onto the train. As the train left the station, the healer could only hope that his friend would stay safe. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Aizawa entered Nizu's office slowly, eyeing the principal warily. "You wanted to see me?" "I'm glad you're here, Aizawa. Tea?" The man took the cup handed to him, staring at the brown liquid. They had a staff meeting scheduled for the next day, so whatever the creature wanted to share, it was for his ears only. "I'm guessing you have some bad news?" "Yes, something has been recently brought to my attention, and I thought it best to tell you." The small creature frowned, locking eyes with the teacher. "I must warn you, you won't like what you hear." Meeting Sir Night-Eye was a dream come true for Izuku, the freckled boy a huge fan of All Might's former sidekick. He was a stern man, but he loved a good joke, and he had plenty of them to share. "Mirio has told me quite a lot about you," the hero told him as they toured the facility. "I understand you have a healing quirk?" Izuku nodded. "Yes, sir. I can use my quirk to alter the biology of others. I mostly use it for healing, but I can use it as a sedative as well." "I see. Then, if I understand correctly, you can engineer many different bodily reactions if you wanted to, yes? Paralysis, blindness, pain." He stopped and turned to the boy, his gaze piercing into him. "And necrosis? Could you destroy tissue as easily as you repair it?" "Vessels vekovu." For all his joking, Night-Eye was very intense. "I don't know, sir. Theoretically, it's all possible. I've just never needed to try any of the things you've mentioned." The healer turned his head, gazing out onto the street just outside the agency. "But I do know that my quirk is strong. I've saved 2 people from certain death with it, so if anyone's quirk could do those things, it's mine." The hero stared at him a beat longer, before nodding, a hint of a smile on his face. "I'm almost positive you can do those things, it's part of why I asked. In order to be a successful hero you must understand everything about your quirk, its strengths, its weaknesses, its nuance, it all must become second nature to you." "I've been studying anatomy in my spare time so that I can fine-tune my abilities." "Exactly the kind of thing I'd expect, you have a very keen mind." The two continued on their tour, stopping once they'd reached the staff room. It was a fairly large space with fairly little in it. There was a plain table with a few chairs tucked into it, a brown leather couch pushed against the far wall, and a coffee bar laden with different drink options. Night-Eye's second in command, the hero Centipeder, was there making himself a cup of coffee. "Take, for instance, Centipeder," the hero muttered in Izuku's ear. "He has a mutation quirk that makes part of his anatomy very much different than yours or mine. Could you heal him?" Izuku assessed him. Most of his mutation appeared to be from the neck up, the man's head insect-like. He had read in one of Recovery Girl's medicine journals that 98% of those born with a mutation quirk still have regular human brains, with little to no mutations in the organ. "The brain is the most important part," Izuku theorized. "It knows what signals to send out when the body is in trouble." "I could," he finally said, turning to Night. "Given the difference in his anatomy, I wouldn't be able to heal his head and neck with precision without first studying insect biology. I'd heal him, but he'd most likely be knocked out by my sedative too." "I see. And do you think your powers would work on a real insect?" "It's unlikely. Centipeder may look insect-like, but he's still human, and that makes the difference. I can already tell a mind like yours will go to waste in a school like UA." It's a shame I won't get to poach you for my agency until you get your provisional license. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Hitoshi let out a sigh as he walked through the halls leading to the principal's office. He was planning to ask Nizu for a quirk registration form, hoping to rebrand both himself and his power into something more positive. It had been Izuku's idea, the greenette suggesting he have his quirk changed from brainwashing to hypnosis. It makes much more sense, he had told Shinso. After all, hypnotists have to engage with the person they're hypnotizing, just like you do. Plus, hypnotists aren't seen as malicious or threatening, so nobody should call it a villain's quirk after you change it. Hitoshi smiled to himself. Befriending the healer had been one of the best decisions he had made after coming to UA, along with befriending Hatsume. The two childhood friends were ridiculously smart, and maybe even a little bit crazy, but they were fiercely loyal to their friends, and the purple-haired boy was happy to count himself among them. He had just rounded the corner to the hall that led to Nizu's office when he saw Aizawa's fist connect with someone's face, and Shinso instinctively jumped back around the corner, his head peeking out as he spied on the scene. Aizawa's hair was floating and his eyes were gleaming red as he held a lanky blonde man by his collar. The man wasn't fighting back, letting Aizawa shake him like a rag doll. "How fucking dare you?" the teacher growled, and Hitoshi did a double take. He knew the dark-haired man to be slightly irritable if not indifferent. It was one of many things they had in common, but he had never seen Aizawa angry, and certainly never this angry. Aiza-dash. The blonde man was cut off as Aizawa's fist connected with his stomach, before the teacher dropped him to the ground. "He's 15, Aizawa spat. "And you would have him take this power that's nearly gotten you killed 100 times over just because he did well in the sports festival? Young Midoriya can heal himself," the man croaked out. "It's a ridiculously rare power, and with it he could survive the damage one for all does to the body." Hitoshi's eyes narrowed in suspicion. He'd only ever heard one person refer to his friend as young Midoriya. "So you'd have him break his body over and over again, just because he can fix it himself?" Aizawa's tone was cold as he continued to glare at the man, red eyes filled with outrage. "You're pathetic." "I'll need a successor eventually," the blonde replied. "And young Midoriya would happily take one for all if it meant saving people. Because he's completely selfless, and you would take advantage of that to suit your own needs." Aizawa leaned down, his face inches from the other man's. "I can promise you this, All Might. As long as Midoriya is under my care, I won't let you do a goddamned thing to him. Learn how to be an actual teacher and help him control the quirk he already has." "I'm afraid Eraserhead is right," Nizu said as he exited his office, walking up to the two teachers. "When I allowed you to come to UA to search for a successor, I did so with the implication that you were to choose from the older students. In fact, I specifically remember recommending Mirio Togata to you as a potential successor." "I know, but Midoriya, he's the most likely to survive this power. If your heart is set on him, All Might, then you'll have to wait until his 3rd year to ask him. And I do mean ask, since I know you can give your power to someone regardless of whether or not they want it." Aizawa's nostrils flared at the mere suggestion, but Nizu cut in. "Anyways, now isn't the time to discuss this. We mustn't fight in front of the students." Hitoshi felt like a bucket of ice water had been dropped on him as he realized the principal knew he was there. He stepped out from his hiding place as 3 sets of eyes found him, walking over to the educators. "A pleasure to see you, Shinso. Was there something you needed?" the small creature asked cheerfully, as if Hitoshi hadn't just witnessed some dramatic showdown between two heroes. "Yeah, I need a quirk registration form. Midoriya thinks it would be a good idea to change the name of my quirk," he said, eyes flicking between the 3. "Splendid, step into my office and we'll get you sorted." Hitoshi turned to look back at Aizawa and All Might, both purposefully avoiding eye contact with him as he followed. "The principal. What the hell was that about? Asterisk 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 asterisk. Say Midoriya, have you ever given someone a real kiss? On the lips?" Izuku picked his head up from his notes, looking at Mirio with wide eyes. The two were in the break room, Izuku filling out his notes from the day's internship while Mirio sorted through some paperwork for Sir Night-Eye, the hero in question in his office going over Nizu's evaluation form with Recovery Girl. Izuku shook his head. No. My quirk works just fine from a kiss on the cheek or forehead, so I've never needed to. So you don't actually know what would happen if you used your quirk in a full lip kiss. Mirio chuckled at Izuku's thoughtful frown. We can figure it out if you want. Izuku stared at his friend incredulously. Are you being serious? It's okay if you don't want to, I just figured this way you wouldn't have to bug anyone else over it. Normally, the suggestion would make Izuku red and flustered, but Night-Eye had told him to explore the limits of his quirk, and after all, he had kissed Mirio before, just in a different spot. Okay, he agreed. Let's do it. Mirio joined him on the couch, turning to face the healer. Izuku leaned forward, head tilted up as Mirio's ducked down to meet him. Their lips connected, and Izuku activated his quirk. Mirio fell through the couch. Oh, Mirio? Izuku called out. Was that supposed to happen? The blonde's head poked out from the couch cushion, his body returning to his original spot. Wow, I didn't expect that to happen. Is that your quirk? Izuku asked. This was the first time he'd ever seen Mirio's quirk, and his mind was racing at the possibilities. It's called permeation. My entire body becomes intangible, and I can slip through anything, even my clothes. Good thing I'm in costume today. I didn't activate my quirk just now, so you must have done it. Me? Mirio just smiled. Well yeah, after all, you're the one with the biology quirk. Using a quirk is just like using a muscle, so I guess your kisses can activate that muscle. Fascinating. Izuku breathed, writing down more notes. That means it's also possible for me to deactivate someone's quirk too. Izuku turned back to his friend, his expression determined. I want to try that again. Bubble Girl had only wanted a cup of coffee after a long day of patrolling. She certainly wasn't expecting to find her coworker kissing somebody on the break room couch. Mirio! Izuku jumped at the voice, his face turning bright red. It's not what it looks like. Well, cat's out of the bag now, Midoriya. Does this mean we're going steady? Izuku punched him. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The next day, Izuku stumbled into the dorm's kitchen an hour earlier than normal, desperate for a cup of coffee. He had been up late the night before, analyzing his notes on his quirk. The development of his power when performing a full-mouthed kiss was surprising to the greenette. He knew his own lips were the key to his quirk, but what did that have to do with another person's lips? According to my research, most of the body is covered in approximately 16 layers of epithelium, he muttered, while the lips are only about 3 to 5 epithelial layers thick. This could mean that the fewer layers allow my quirk faster access to the body, but that would also mean there's some kind of absorbency happening as well. He was so wrapped up in his thoughts he almost didn't notice Kirishima sitting at the kitchen island, a steaming mug in his hands. Morning, Midoriya. Oh, good morning, Kiri. What are you doing up so early? The redhead sighed, giving him a weary smile. Fourth kind is super strict about punctuality, so I gotta make sure I get to the agency early if I don't want extra work today. Izuku nodded, pouring himself a cup of coffee. He took in his friend's appearance, noting that his hair wasn't in its usual spiky style yet, but instead hanging loosely around his face. It looks so soft, the greenette thought to himself. Hey Kiri, your hair looks really cute like that. Kirishima's cheeks flamed at the compliment, his eyes darting away from his friend. Really? Thanks. Izuku just smiled, sipping his coffee. As he grabbed a banana to eat on the train, he thought back to his notes. The lips also have a high number of nerve endings, which means a direct kiss could also be stimulating the nervous system as opposed to seeping into the skin. The greenette turned to his friend, his mind whirring. He could ask the redhead to harden his skin, to determine if the extra layer of protection shielded against his quirk. He took in his friend's soft messy hair and sleepy expression, and his cheeks pinked. He could always ask him later. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Interning with Gunhead alongside Uraraka had been very beneficial, as Izuku was able to learn new combat moves that worked for someone his size. He was a few inches taller than Uraraka, but the moves Gunhead taught them would allow them to take on bigger opponents, closer to Iida's or Shoji's sizes. Uraraka was scarily into the exercise, gleefully taking down the hero's larger sidekicks. Izuku was much more subdued, simply taking down his opponent and correcting his form when prompted. "Isn't this great?" Uraraka asked him as she returned from the sparring mat, having pinned a sidekick twice her size. "We're learning how to fight with more than just our quirks." Izuku nodded. He could empathize with Uraraka in terms of having a non-combative quirk, and thus being at a disadvantage against opponents like Katsuki or Todoroki. He supposed the girl was imagining the explosive boy's face every time she took her opponent down, her maniacal grin making all the more sense. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Hitoshi was waiting outside the 1A dorms for Izuku to return, his arms crossed and his mind conflicted. He knew the principal probably didn't want him sharing what he saw the day before with anyone, and there was a part of him that was afraid if he did tell his friend what he saw, he might not get to join the hero course after all. But then he thought about Izuku and Mei, who had embraced him and befriended him despite what everyone else thought about his quirk. He thought about Izuku's hero suggestions and Mei's support items and how they were always there for him, even when he was brainwashing his teammates, and the purple-haired boy took a deep breath, centering himself. He had made his decision. He was going to stand by his friend. When the greenette did finally appear, looking confused but happy to see him, he pulled his friend to the side. "I have to tell you something," he muttered lowly, eyeing Uraraka as she entered the building. He tried to start several times, green eyes watching him all the while, but every time he started to speak, he could see Nizu shaking his head and taking his sports festival medal from him. His throat began to close up. He couldn't do it. "Well?" Izuku asked, the boy beginning to fidget. I think Mei might like Yaoyorozu," he finally said. It wasn't what he meant to say, but he did believe it. The two girls were always getting flustered around one another, and Mei would always try to keep her face clean if Yaoyorozu was joining her for lunch that day. Izuku let out a giggle. "So you noticed it too, huh? You should have seen them at the slumber party. They cuddled practically the whole night." "Oh, sorry, you probably don't want to hear this, considering." Hitoshi shook his head. "I got over my crush. Honestly, I'd be thrilled if those two started dating. I think they'd make each other very happy." "I do too." As Hitoshi listened to his friend ramble on about the gossip he knew, the taller boy's stomach began to knot up. He prayed he was doing the right thing. Notes: "I think All Might is a great hero and maybe even a good guy, but he's a horrible teacher almost the entire series. I imagine he'd be willing to do a lot of morally questionable things to uphold the symbol of peace ideology he has. Also, there isn't much information on how mutation quirks affect people's anatomy, so I just completely made up that stuff about Centipeder. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the update.